up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. Ryan, I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What's going on? We're back at it. Back at it once again. Getting set. Yeah, I saw the titles. It's gonna be a one-on-one with Edward Anderson. And last time I did that, it didn't go through. He overslept, or I don't know what happened. It don't matter. But yeah, he just emailed me. So I know we up and ready to go, and wires are not crossed this morning. We got it going. So I'm sending him the email right now. So he will be joined by Edward Anderson. And I'm going to send him that email right now. I see people gradually, slowly filing on in here. They've been saying that they haven't been getting the notifications and whatnot lately. That happens sometimes from time to time with YouTube. They don't send out those notifications, but that ain't no big deal. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep it pushing, keep it moving. We got a number of good topics that we about to dig into. I'd asked him what topic did he want to go over, and he laid out a few different topics, and all of them was so good that I was just like, man, we're gonna fuck around and do a mashup of all of them if we can, or go through as many of them if we can. But there was enough good topics in that one email that he threw out. It was enough good topics in that email that he threw out that that I could definitely work with that and do content on that for a week. I could do content on that one, everything you put in that one email for a week. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at other things and whatnot. But here's the deal. I'm trying to send him an email right now. I got so many things going on. I got to get better at this. I got all kinds of shit going on because I do run another business, and I just woke up to some information, some money on the table that I got to go get. But that's all right. I got to do what I'm doing here. And then got to get back to that. But I'm about to send that email to Edward Anderson. Like I said, we're going to be joined by him. Y'all know how Ed do. Ed always bring the heat. So it's on. About to have a good one for y'all today as we gradually get started. And the email is sent. Ed, if you're listening, it should be in your email. All right. Keep coming on in here. Hit that like button on the way in. I see William Brown just hit a super chat or super sticker for $1. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hold on for 1 second. But if that's the all right, I'm back. You figure something out, let me know on it. All right, I'm back. Had to handle some other business. We back to it. We back at it. We back to it. We back at it. Let's see. As usual, as you always know what I do, a shout out to Early Bird Squads, to those that make it in bright and early. The Early Bird Squad didn't come in as strong, but it's a lot of messages in here right now. A lot of people filed in here kind of slow. Who we got in here? A weird name that's hard to, that is Cleomatic. Cleomatic. Whatever. Niggas in these YouTube names. What up? What up? Thank you for coming in. Peace and salute to you. Spacely Man. What's going on? Darth Patzer, Brian Randall. Who else we got in here? Ephraim McKenzie. What's going on? Sam I Am. What's happening? Says Peace Bernard and Edward. Edward ain't in here yet, but I sent him the email. He should be on the way shortly. Liang Bentley says, what's going on, brothers? BK Hammer. I think you hopped on the panel yesterday or the day. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Had a good conversation with you. Salute and shout out to you. Don Calypso in the building. He says, all hands brace for impact. Hurricane Edward has upgraded to Category 5 and made the landfall. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Spacely Man says, Bernard, that live you did yesterday was superb. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Wayman Brown, once again, shout out to you. David Monroe says, what's the topic? We got a lot of different topics. Melody, thank you for showing up. What's up and salute to you. Same for Sugar G. See y'all in here. Let's see who else we got here. Bright and early. LF Third in the building. He says, Ed going to show up this time? Yes, he emailed me. He emailed me. So yeah, he should be on the way. He was actually supposed to be in right at around 10 o'clock. He can come on right now if he's listening. 10 o'clock was the time he was supposed to come. I was supposed to hop on about 9:30 and freestyle until he got here. But that's sort of what we're doing right now. So I'm sort of just freestyling until he get here. Saluting and shouting out those that made it in bright and early. Cut to the Chase TV. He says, people always cracking jokes about how much Edward be talking, but the brother be breaking things down to a science. Yes, very true. Very true. Very true. Very true. Ed be breaking shit down. That's why I reached out to the brother, because he be breaking shit down. He always bring the heat whenever he hop on here. We have good conversations. But that pretty much covers it. Who I see Bowdy Thug, Sister George, Panther God, Ricardo, Rodney, Jetro Mullet. All right, that's it. That's it. Sir Tice in the building. I see you out there. Jedi Mac. All right, that's it for real. That's for real. That's for real. For real. That's it. That's it. Sully Man Giles. What's going on? All right, that's it for real. But yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for making it in here. Making it in here bright and early. Bright and early. We're going to get these things going. We had a good show yesterday, even though when you do a lot of shows in a row, day after day, they all roll into one big show and you forget exactly what happened on this day or that day. So when people be like, hey, goddamn. When people be like, great show yesterday or great show here, great show there, all of that, you be like trying to figure out, shit, damn, what did I say? What happened? Who was on? I don't know. But hit that like button on the way in. Hit that like button on the way in, people. Yeah, I know the Cash App information. Yeah, I see it scrolling down the side, down at the bottom. Support the show. Y'all know the routine. Y'all know the deal. You know the routine. Y'all know the deal. What was that topic yesterday? Yesterday, that topic was why aren't good black men and black women getting together? So we had a good conversation on that. That was the initial topic, but it veered off into some other stuff. Hang on one quick All right, y'all. I had to push mute again for some other business that I had to take care of. Justin March just came through with a super chat and a super stick. And without further ado, the man of the hour just made it into the building. Edward Anderson, what's going on? Are you there? Say something.
Dang, man, I tell you, I'm not a fucking morning person. That's what this is. And this little morning talk show shit. Really, I was about to tell you, like, next time we'll probably do this like at 12, because I know 2 is like the latest you're gonna go. So, yeah.
Man, I do a whole afternoon. I do it every now and then. I break out a night show. So yeah, let me know. Let me know. We can.
So yeah, so me, it's gonna have to be an afternoon show because I know you want to hit it in the morning. What time zone are you in?
I'm Eastern. So yeah, it's 9.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It's about to
okay,
be 10
okay. So you
a.m.
ain't.
right now.
Yeah, so that's what that is. You know, you gotta remember most of the streams I come is a night show. I be working with I be in the chat with your shit. That's what that be why so I'm forced to be up. But anyway, yeah, because I thought we was gonna do a background thing as to what topic. So I sent you a list of topics. So which because I got an idea which one I want to tackle.
Which one you want to tackle? I'll let you pick which one you want to tackle because you sent some good ones. You sent some damn good
You know,
ones.
I was going. The marriage thing might be it might get motherfuckers triggered. Now I'm a little bit too tired to deal with the onslaught of like the older black men that folks that want to back up marriage. But I thought that one would be good because it's someone that you have been married. You know, you can give some perspective on that. So the motherfuckers gonna be, oh, you ain't been married, you don't know. It's like, all right, well, let's refer to Bernard. So that one I'll table until like that's a really good one.
Yeah, we could table that one. The ones that's on the table. The first thing you typed, you said desire versus respect. What
That's the
does that
one
mean?
I want. Do black men a deeper look? Do black men value? Which one does black men value more? Because you know we're gonna bring this is gonna be in it, but this is gonna be a dissection of the psychology of black men in relationship to the gynocracy. You know, as to how black men contribute to it. So this is calling out black men's fuckery for a little bit. So yeah, the title is desire versus respect. Which one do black men choose to have or prioritize more as a collective group? I would submit to you, black men care about being desired far more than they care about being respected as a collective group.
Mm,
And then when
yeah.
I say collective group, I'm talking about no matter what side you segment it at the end of the day, like what type of side, whether it's street dudes, the educated brothers, whatever class, if you average that group out, it usually is what drives them is more them wanting to be desired than respected.
All right, well, let's talk about that respect. What do you mean by that respect? Are you talking about just the overall collective respect from black women, or respect from society, respect from the world? Like what are you talking about? Or are you just talking about individual respect and the relationship you're dealing with one woman you're dealing with? So what do you mean by that respect as
You know,
opposed to the
I
desire?
think respect as far as a brand. When you look at men, like when you look at men of any groups, religion, whatever, however you segment it, you know, men want respect. Men want to be respected. And things when it comes to things like admiration for women, stuff like that, it's supposed to be a byproduct of that. But that is supposed. It's kind of like you're not supposed to get the things to give you the money first. You're supposed to get the money to get the things first. Kind of like that versus when I look at maybe some of the issues. This is a segment off of what City and Kevin we were talking about before, as far as why black men don't work together. You know, black men don't work together because a bit in many ways is because we're chasing desire. If you actually look at what black men talk about in the manosphere in relationship to women, what you find is black men seem to covet more being desired than respect, and they're willing to trade off respect to be desired. And this is what informs a lot of our relationships, not just with black women but even with non-black women. This informs our relationship with other men, because other men want respect and they see competition as a way of gaining respect. We see competition as a mechanism of clearing out other people to get desired. This is why we don't have a tendency to race compete. Like black men don't tend to have a tendency to lock up under racial terms unless violence is necessary. So I'm talking about like things like business. We tend to want to like compete with each other, even though we know that will make other groups. And I'm not just talking about all of us as a collective. I'm talking even in corporate America, even in different parts. We don't politic as well. We may politic against each other, but we don't necessarily politic as a group. If that
Mm.
makes any sense.
Yeah, see where you're going. See where you're going with that one. So let's talk about that desire, because like what well, you kind of mentioned it already. With in these spaces, the conversations will quite often devolve into, I won't even say devolve. It will turn into a conversation about pussy. That happens every now and then on here. And I don't like how everybody says every conversation about women is a conversation about pussy. Like we just horny. We
Well,
bring up,
pussy is a representative of desire. That's
yeah, I know.
that's really that's what they're saying behind what they're saying. Because they never, if you notice, the manosphere, you never hear them frame it. A couple of dating coaches, I may have heard Alan frame it like this, like allude to this, but most like, you know, folks that are talking, no matter what framework they're coming from, they never reframe it to, because this is like the mindset, the motivation that drives the pussy. This is why even with pro blacks, and you hear them talk about, they go over the top to advocate for black love and shit like that. What they're, it's really desire that when they worshiping the black woman, what they're really worshiping is their own egos through a black woman, the desire. And when I mention Alex Curry, I'm talking about he's the only one to ever allude to this as far as a kind of male psychology that I may have heard. Other BGS maybe too. Other than that, nobody's really talking about that. They're talking about just the pussy shit on the front, but this is the mental thing behind what it is. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, get those likes up. I just hit the like button my damn self. We got
Just like
Andre.
how, yeah, just like
Go
how
ahead, let me
women.
get
Oh
you.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, Andre Hatchett, real quick. He says, in our hierarchy of needs, we want to be admired by a woman over most things. Respect is a close second. Thank you for the super chat, Andre Hatchett. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'll
Um,
lead off for like 45 minutes, an hour, and then 45 minutes, and then we can get somebody else in here, depending on how deep I can go into it with this.
yeah, hey, go on and get it in. Go on and get it in.
Yeah, but yeah, Andre's right. But as far as the respect part, that depends on the black man. So now at that point, if we're talking about ratio of respect to desirability, that depends on it. Like somebody like Andre is gonna understand respect because he understands that desire can be driven from respect. But a lot of dudes don't understand that. They're trained at an early. You gotta remember, black men are trained at an early age to want to be pretty. Roger
Mm,
report calls it the beautiful man complex. A lot of black men are instilled in that very early. This is why when you hear dudes like take how Obsidian talks, Obsidian, you can kind of tell his background based on how he talks. I don't think he doesn't come from a military background, but he was raised by military people, and it informs like hard work, respect, stuff like that. Versus you hear other dudes talk, and then they're always quick to talk about what another nigga ain't doing when it comes to a female, and not from a perspective of okay, these are the holes that you need to plug. They're talking from a braggadocious Negro complex. The hoes love me. And then when you look at a lot of homosexuals, you will look at dudes where they have nothing, they are nothing, and the only thing that they have is the fact the bitch has basically knighted them with a little bit of respect because they're giving pussy. These are the same chicks that complain about you. Remember, if you hear black women complaining, this is Obsidian's whole platform too. If you hear black women complaining, they're not talking to the guys that they don't fuck. They're talking to the guys that they do.
right.
So if they're willing to throw them under the bus, obviously that's buyer's remorse. So when you look at it, they may be satisfying a sexual need, just like somebody may be satisfying an addiction. But at the end of the day, there's like shame that comes along with that because at the end of the day, if they know that that won't help you, shout out to Rebecca Lynn Pope. She talked about this. She talked about how even if you're sexually compatible, you can feel awful about the person you're dealing with because sexuality is spiritual transfer. So if you're dealing with people that are bad for you and you know at a subconscious level they are, that actually can affect your psychology. But at the end of the day, you still got to get that, that if that box wants to get fucked, it wants to get fucked and it wants what it wants, right? So it's the same thing kind of there, but in reverse. So what you have to understand with men is black desire drives a lot of motivations behind black men, and you see it come out in the manosphere. That need to be desired is a weakness. because
Damn.
black men have they have a hyper other groups. Other groups that are smart have learned to actually exploit that from black men. This is why, even though some groups got an ego, notice how certain groups, all groups have egos with their women, but certain groups are willing to smut their women out more than others. White dudes, I won't say Jewish dudes, but they're willing to use women as a tool to undermine black men, and they find it's a very effective tool to basically, even when dudes are working as a group, usually you can use hoes to break dudes up, because at the end of the day, that need to be desired. That's a deep rooted gynocratic issue, and in black, you don't ever see black men really address it. And here's another thing, just to not say the same thing over and over. When you look, this is the biggest way that it comes up: a woman's compliance versus a
Mm-hmm.
woman's desire. Which one is really more important than you? And I'm not saying a woman can desire you zero and then be compliant, but every woman is not going, like, when you look at, okay, you've been married, right?
Right.
You've been married, Bernard. Okay, there's a difference. Every woman that's married to a man, even in the initial stage of marriage, they may be crazy about a person, they may desire them, but that's not necessarily like they desire you, like they may desire Chris Brown or some shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this, we men associate you, even with marriage. It's this hyper desire that black men have been taught they have to achieve from women, like a desire. They've been taught that you have to manifest a desire in a woman that is enough to override her consciousness, her subconscious. Literally, like, she's gotta want. I'll say it this way to be simple. She gotta want you so bad that if you smack the shit out of her, she'll still stay.
Mm.
This is the level. This is, so when you hear things like, when you hear the way some of these dudes apply game, this is why I try to use the term social skills. When they use
Yeah.
it, like, they try to talk about it in a level that's like fucking pimping. And that's the law of averages. A man is not going to have a pimp level of game. If you have to have a pimp level of game in order to deal with your woman, that is a problem. I'm talking about on the law averages. That is an issue, because most dudes are not going to have that level. So the real question is, you're obviously not talking about building a community or a society, because you're setting stuff up that cannot be achieved in the law of averages, and you have never seen that achieved. So what it really is the bar has been raised so high. And Kevin Samuels just did a thing about this. Talk about, like, they were talking about 49ers, fours that want nines.
Mm-hmm.
It's not balanced, and you have dudes that actually buy into that. And it was something that Platinum said. I forget what platform it was. It might have been on this platform. I think it was the other day, where he stated that, like, this is the typical thing that says, well, you go to them other women because you're weak.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, black women are the least desired in the United States of America by all men, as far as average out. Like, if you look average out all men, they're the least desired. So how is the least desired going? How are you going to raise the highest bar for the least desired? That makes no sense. And so the reason why that statement is important is because men have access to other women. The only thing that keeps men in place is the social culture taboos and norms. And you're seeing that break with disease. You saw it kind of break with the millennials. You saw it kind of really break with disease. So the question is, if you look at this from a capitalism perspective, the more the market is freed up, the more a product has to justify why you buy it. And obviously, you see what happens. This is why places in the West Coast, women don't act up as much, because the competition is a lot more fierce. So those guys have other options. They demonstrated they will use those options.
Mm.
So again, and so you got to really ask yourself, why do men restrict their ability to choose? And we're talking about sexual access. You could deal with however amount of chicks you want to deal with for casual sex, and then turn around, and when you want to get married, decide to settle with, like, a woman that's reflective of the lineage you want to have. I don't understand why people don't understand that. So we look at sex like, we buy into this idea that people can't separate sex from actually, creating a family. I only really see that in the black community. I don't
Right.
see that in other communities. Other communities, even when I see other non-black men fuck with black women, they can fuck with black women and then turn around and go back to the women they're dealing with when it comes to having a family. They can do that. You see Arabs do that. You see Latinos do that. But with black men, it's kind of like, oh, if you're fucking somebody, that's like a leading indicator that that's who you're going to deal with. And that's not really true. But black men are trained that way too. They're trained who you have sex with is basically like who you're co-signing, which no other men, no other women have that kind of relationship with their men like that. To
Right.
where even white women get annoyed about the fact that white men will jump with Asians, but it's never the level of threat that like they're really calling it out as far as their personal grievances with their men.
Hold on. We've never seen that at a large scale. Them having a problem with white men getting with Asian women, and white men will almost boldly, bluntly say that's their preference. Like they
Yeah.
will be loud and proud about that shit. Mammy Too Fine, I think that's Melody. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, thank you for the super chat or super sticker. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that is Melody. I think, yeah, I'm just gonna go with that's Melody. I think so. The Roger report came through, says hardworking men with beautiful women has always worked better than beautiful men with hardworking women for a society to be successful. Good point there. Definitely
Yeah, that's a
agree with
Roger
that.
reference. I want y'all to know that that beautiful man shit is some Roger shit. So, in case y'all asking me where that comes from, that comes from him.
Yeah, I was about to double back on that one. Well, let me finish. We got Chief Rocka in here sent a super sticker. Thank you for your support, my man Silent Lamont, who dropped the heat yesterday. Definitely came through, dropped the heat. Came through with a super chat. Peace and salute to
Yeah,
Keith
I need to refresh it real quick.
Lamont. Okay, Ed had to go take care of something. We got 200 people in here now. 200 people in the building. Let's see how we doing on the likes. We sitting here with 92 likes. Let's get those likes up. I'm not 100% sure how far it dropped down. Well, no, I'm about to drop and pulling back up. Hopefully everything
No,
cool.
I had to just refresh it. Yeah, I've been up to most of your super chats.
Okay. All right. Let's see. He says my dude Bernard pronounced mammy like a southern white dude. I thought it said Miami at first. So I almost pronounced it worse than that.
Yeah. But yeah, that beautiful man complex is
Yeah.
something that we've
Let's
talked about. It's kind of like a play off the homosexual complex.
Yeah, I was just sitting there thinking when you was talking, is it any other sector? And I'm sure it's a thing, like okay, amongst white boys, okay, the guy who's getting the most pussy, that yeah, okay, he gets some status, he gets revered, This is, even if we go back to the older TV shows, the Fonz, he was the and all of that. So I mean, we get it, but I don't know if there's just it's a constant, ongoing,
You
never-ending
don't
dick
see, you
measuring
don't
contest.
see, yeah, you don't see the concept of a white male concubine. You don't see, not at least on television. You don't see that archetype of the where he doesn't do nothing else, but the women still like him. No, most of the time when you see that, he is what I call a specialist, meaning he's extremely good. If you don't see him leading men, he's it's very established that he's good at what he does, or he is a leader of men, and then the women see that. You don't see a dude where the dudes are just um parked as like concubines for females. You
Right.
don't. And here's a reason why that's important. Because the natural propensity for people is to say, oh, well, this is just hate and this is just that. No, you have to understand it as a male. If you're getting I'm not saying this is always true of everybody, but what I'm saying is you do have dudes, and we know who they are, that they will be neutralized Negroes. They will be perfectly happy being parked. In fact, I can understand the sexual access part of it. You got dudes that are perfectly comfortable in the friend zone, and they will justify being in the friend zone. Like seriously, like you have dudes that will literally argue, and that's another thing. So you have dudes that will literally argue with you for the value of non-sexual companionship with females. I've had this stuff happen. I've had it happen multiple times on Ramil, where dudes will actually have long, dragged out conversations justifying having a whole bunch of female friends that they not fucking, and it's giving no monetary value, no networking value, none of the stuff that you could kind of justify. Okay, they're there because there's a value they bring to a certain extent. No, it's just, oh, she's a woman and I value her opinion.
Man, I used to do that shit, and I can tell you from experience, it's no value, none, zero. When I stopped doing that shit, I didn't lose a damn thing. I didn't gain. I gained a little extra free time and some dignity. That's about it. But yeah, that shit is pointless. That shit.
I mean, with sex, I get it. Sex, I get it. That's why it needs to be hammered home, because it's something. Because obviously, you know, you have a biological need that you haven't filled, and then it's not being filled. I mean, shit. That's where a lot of trigger comes in. Because dudes, if they get that filled one way, they're done.
Talking about that perpetual friend zone, shit.
Yeah, and you got a lot of dudes that if you get them, they may not be bold about it, but if you bring it up, they will justify. Well, you saying that the only thing a woman is good for is sex? That's how it starts. And I'm like, that no, they're good for networking value. They're good for other values. But what I'm saying is, it's clear.
Chat. How did I say that? Did I say mammy too fine? Or that's supposed to be mommy? Man, I don't speak that shit. They're clowning me in the shot at my pronunciation. I thought it was saying mammy.
Damn, I ain't seen that. I mean, shit.
That's how y'all saying spelling mommy now? Really? That's how the kids are doing it nowadays. I don't know.
Man, let a chick say that shit to me. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. Yeah. You're here, and I'll say slick shit like that, especially when I do deal with Latino, because I don't give a shit. Oh no, like people think that like motherfuckers only be dragged, like non-black women don't get dragged. Oh, they get. Roger can tell you they get dragged way where the weapons free. I usually got kid gloves when it comes to dealing with sisters. They really don't understand how much dudes hold back on them, like for real. But yeah, man, going back to this.
Hopefully you held your thought, because let me do this since everybody's shooting shots. So Sertai says, Edge has some of the best manosphere content, but man, we gotta upgrade. Man, we gotta upgrade from the cell phone ish D Jackson production. LOL. Since everybody's shooting shots, let's get it out the way.
Yeah. I mean, no, absolutely. I mean, my thing is, I'm not like I appreciate everybody that does send me money to the extent that they do, but I've said it very clearly. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say what I'm not gonna do, because I have been talking about I am gonna look at doing different kind of content, but at the same time, I'm not trying to be like a YouTuber in that way. If the stuff organically grows into that, it definitely does. But you know, my opinion is what y'all will be blessed with for now.
Yeah, I remember I heard you say that like 2 years ago, that you're not a content creator. You just got a rant box. You just turn on your phone and you just start ranting. That's just what you do. You ain't trying to take it too serious with the content creation. But
some of these dudes be having really good setups, like Kevin does, Donovan Sharp does, Obsidian has his kind of radio setup. You know, I've seen that.
I'm working on that. I was walking around Home Depot the other day. I'm going to do some stuff to get a nice little setup in my basement and try to, you know, and got to get a camera, got to get a few more things, but you know, yeah, I'm going to do all that. So yeah, I'm going to definitely upgrade everything here, but you know, and hey, the people like you who just like to turn their phone on and rant and bring the heat, hey, that's all right too. You know, I definitely enjoy.
That's the stable. That's the foundation of the manosphere, man. Yeah. Niggas talking shit from their phone.
It's old school and it's raw. Just turn your phone on and just start spitting. That's it. Just freestyle.
David Carroll on the phone, you know. But anyway, but going back to this desire thing. This is very important, because I like to talk about what doesn't get talked about. That's why I focus on the gynocracy to the extent that I do, because you don't hear black people use even that word like that. The closest thing they get to it is matriarchy, and they rarely use that. You hear motherfuckers talk about patriarchy all the time. Women bitching about it. They want to go on an intersectionalist shit. Dudes trying to, you don't even really hear dudes talk about patriarchy, black men talk about patriarchy like that outside of YouTube.
No, I didn't know nothing about it. That the concept of that until basically until Black YouTube, until the manosphere. The only time I ever heard it get brought up, this chick that I was dating that was I didn't view her as a feminist because I mean, actually, it was a while ago. At the time, I didn't think nothing was really wrong with a feminist because, I was, head in the sand on a lot of this shit. But she had said something about some patriarchy, said I didn't really know what she was talking about. But when I look back at it, I see that she was really just, throwing jabs at men and whatnot. But, and every now and then, and I see it more on shows that got liberal or LGBTQRS agenda and all of that, you hear it get brought up on shows like that as a problem. That's the only, if we ain't the manosphere, patriarchy gets brought up only as a problem. This is the only place where I ever heard it get brought up in a,
and this is why black women and this is why they're always being put in the forefront of stuff like that, because they take the arrows, they take the negative reputation from that. They're being used as pawns that way. But even to a certain extent, even if you listen to Kevin Samuel's stuff or some of the interviews that Obsidian's done, it comes out. It just doesn't come out as, oh, well, the patriarchy and stuff like that. Because deep down, sisters know there is no patriarchy. BGS says there's no good old boys network in the black community. There's a good old girls network. This is where you think your love the Obsidian versus the love industry, black love industry comes from. That's a good old girls network. Those are dudes that are catering to a female audience. But you also have, like, I could go deeper into that. But my point when it comes to like the church network, the always some kind of woman empowerment essence festival bullshit coming around. You hear it on the radio. Like it's a whole network, and it's like, and most dudes don't even realize that. Like I said, when you look at dudes' voting patterns, for the most part, dudes, when they vote for a black woman, they vote for another black person. That's how they see it. When a black woman votes for a black man, they do not see it as voting for a black person. They vote for a man, and they are very like vigilant on who they're voting for, and sometimes they won't vote for him. Case in point, the dude that ran for governor of Florida, a lot of black women voted against him. It was a sizable block that voted against him to actually cause him to lose. Now, I don't know if they're Afro-Latina, to be fair, or what, but I noticed that shit in the numbers, and it wasn't just a small percentage. It was like 20 million. Well, not 20 million. It was like a couple million. It was a sizable percentage for Florida. But
anyway. I saw enough black women to notice, even though they did, end up siding with Obama, but a lot of them was at odds. I heard a lot of them saying, I have Hillary on one side, who's a woman. I got Barack on another side, who's black. Which way do I go?
They didn't side with Obama. They sided with Michelle.
Ooh.
I mean, can we be honest about that? I mean, if Obama would have been married to a white woman, if Obama would have been married to a Kamala Harris, they would have sided with Hillary. Hillary would be the president. I'm not even going. It's easy to say the white woman. That's obvious. But even the Kamala Harris, yeah, even if being a light skinned chick, they would have went with Hillary. And the thing about it is, you got dudes like, let's take the women out today. See, women are very aware of this. Men are not. So again, men, what's the point of me saying that? It is dudes by default are trained to want to be desired. They are trained to want that. And this is a lot. All this stuff comes together to a certain extent. Because when you look at why dudes will stay in the friend zone as long as, I'm talking about outside of what normal dudes do. I get that. We understand the other dudes do it to a certain extent, but I'm talking about why we do it. Because we tend to overvalue the attention of a female. We really do. And I'm talking about the attention that isn't coming with sex. We do not have a tendency to just, charge that off to the game and understand that our attention is a gift to a woman, collectively or individually. And we tend to justify the friend zone for stupid ass reasons. We tend to justify having females around our orbit because that's like I guess it's this misunderstanding of wanting to be desired. And when you hear a lot of dudes in the manosphere really talk shit about this is why the tricking thing is so taboo with black men. Really, because what's the difference between you paying for a woman's compliance and you not paying? It's really the trick. It's really the desire piece. A
Mm.
woman is not going to desire a man that pays more than they desire a man that they organically want. I mean, nobody would debate that.
Yeah,
So with that being,
that's one of the biggest arguments against tricking, man. That when people say, "Yeah, but man, she don't really desire you. You're not getting her best. You're not getting. It ain't no passion. It ain't no. That's what they really. That's what they really saying. It goes back to the title, which is saying, desire versus respect is like,
and so what is the real value? I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to be desired, but at the same time, you got to understand what's going on there in that person's head. So you're willing. So the question is, what is the value of desire? Because at the end of the day, is the value worth you wasting a whole bunch of time fucking dealing with somebody? I mean, is that really the only thing? And does that really matter? Because at the end of the day, even if the women expect something for sex for the most part, better if you can't give it nothing up, it better be good dick. But the
mm-hmm.
point is, the level of desire that a lot of these dudes are chasing is on some Chris Brown shit.
Yeah.
I mention him because I'm talking about like auto pay. It's a flawed concept that you don't see other dudes really chasing like that. And I'm not saying dudes should trick, but what I'm saying is understand that your biological need for sex. See, I'll give you a perfect example. One of the reasons why black men have a reputation for being good at sex is because black men actually care about a woman's pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
If we tie that to our ability to fuck, right? Other men don't do that. Other men don't think that way. For Latin men are like the next tier on that, or the next, like they do that too to a certain extent. But other men don't give a shit about that. White men don't give a shit about that for the most part. And to the extent that they do, they got it from black men. This is why our women, we stay picking off their women. Like that's one of the reasons. You know why motherfuckers that might not try it out tries it out, because we have a pride in that. Other men don't do that. That's actually like on some hoe. That's actually low key on some hoe shit. That's a concubine mentality.
Blackfoot, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. And BK Hammer in the building sent the super chat for that. Voted for Michelle answer. Thank you very much for that. Y'all get those likes up. Zero says value equals $40. I don't even know where that came from. I just be hearing y'all say that shit. What is that about? What is the $40 about? Why people keep saying that?
Yeah, that's like they talk about, like, you know, you get a chick desperate enough, you know, at the end of the day, that's how much it's worth. That's basically they commodify sexual access. Not they, 'cause I do it too. They commodify sexual access like a barrel of oil. What is the price? And at the end of the day, $40. If you pay more than 40, you overpaying.
Okay, so Tony Maceo overpaying with that 75, huh? You need to drop that down.
That's what they say. But you know, my thing is, even if you're not going to trick, it's important to commodify it, because you need to take assessment of the time that you're investing in a chick. If you understand that, like, you know, you let's say you do go overseas and you do the sex tourism thing. If you know that you paying X amount of dollars, right? Then that's gonna have you think a little bit differently than if you taking a bitch out on 3 dates and she talk about she's celibate when you know she's been fucking or it's fucking. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It makes you less like, even if you don't do that, it makes you less likely if you're thinking that way. Because then it's not about being cheap. It's just about saying, understand, my time is worth X amount of dollars per hour. So that on itself, I'm sacrificing if I'm dealing with female. And my thing is, if there's a business aspect to it, or something that they can offer, you know, I can easily get a woman to talk to me for free as far as her fucking conversation. So this idea, because I'm really giving her something more than she's giving me something. You know, so this idea of what you're really getting when you go out. And the question is, if you knew you could have, would you really take a chick out? How many dudes would really take a chick out if they didn't think that was necessary to have sex? And how many dudes would take a chick out if they knew they weren't going to fuck? I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
But nobody never really asked that. Again, so that desire is that's that bait. And dudes have to understand that difference and get control of that shit. They really do. And a lot of times in these arguments, that's the argument. It's dudes really advocating for desire without ever really saying it. Because nobody's never really said it like that. like directly in the manosphere. This is what you niggas are really talking about. You niggas have a reaction against this and that because at the end of the day, there's no desire in it, so you see no value in it. And as a man, you are not necessarily supposed to be overvaluing desire to the effect that it affects your actions like that. You're supposed to pursue power for respect, not power for the sake of desire of some fucking bitches, because that's a byproduct.
Mm. Shout out to Super Triz. Peace and salute to Super Triz. Shout out to Bernard Edward Anderson. Another thing that you put in this email, you kind of already touched on it, I think, but you said, what exactly is the male version of the gynocracy? What did you mean by that?
Well, when I say the male version, I mean how black men contribute to the gynocracy.
Okay.
You know, we could talk about how black women contribute to white supremacy by basically subverting the black community. Well, two ways. I'll start here just so I can juxtapose it. Black women contribute to white supremacy because at the end of the day, they are complaining about their position in it. They actually like the system. They just don't like their position. And this is why you typically don't see them go nowhere when it comes to the diaspora or deal with other groups of men. And if they do hop, usually they hop into white men or white Hispanics because of that. But the colorism and stuff like that is an argument. Now, black men, and therefore you subvert the black community by always advocating for women to have more power over men. And most black women do this either consciously, subconsciously, either covertly or overtly. Or they buy into women to do this, right? By basically doing everything they can to subvert male leadership, and then that's where that patriarchy comes in. They talk about patriarchy that's never existed. So if you and so going back to that real quick, if you actually, I love those conversations. I love when somebody brings that up because I'll ask them a simple question. I'll be like, okay, so when was there a patriarchy in the black community? And it's funny because you would think if you believe something so much that you would be able to at least give some semblance of, okay, you know, when it was. I'm not saying you got to give me the time, but like a time period. They try to act like the color purple was a patriarchy. And I'm like, that wasn't really a patriarchy. Not y'all in that color purple. Oh, don't get me started on that movie. Anyway, fast forward. As far as how black men contribute to it, this desire piece is a big piece. But black men contribute to it by we have this like pseudo unspoken religion or code of conduct where our manhood is juxtaposed against what our women think of us. Like for the most part.
Elaborate on
that. So we contribute to the gynocracy by saying that we are not men unless a black woman says we are men. I'm talking about as a collective. Individuals obviously say that's not me, and they may be true. But at the end of the day, what are usually when black men get mad on this platform or other platform, what's the first thing they bring up? How much pussy you get? What you doing with pussy? That's the universal marker. It's never money. It's always never money. It's always pussy. Notice, white supremacy never comes up when it comes to getting bitches. You can't bring up the white man got his foot on your neck when it comes to getting bitches. Don't get me started on the, you know, who white men picking and choosing winners and losers based on the media they control that you don't control. But you say that, now you complaining. But we talk about business, oh, white supremacy all day now. Now we bring out that box. That's nothing, you know. But the point to the contribution part is we don't ever see ourselves as black men. We don't see ourselves as a center of the community. Like the community runs on what we do. If we don't succeed, the community doesn't succeed. If we fail, the community fails. And we don't take pride in having power with that. I'm not saying we got a lot against this because the system is behind a lot of how stuff is. So I'm not saying that like trying to jump on dudes. What I'm saying is dudes will settle into this position of being in a submissive situation collectively to the women. This is why you can wake up and all your women are like in all these governmental seats, like around you, county by county. It's because we got women that are out here competing with men, but the men are kind of like there saying, oh, that's cool, and then being cool with it. So you got one woman so we actually contribute to that by not like rubber banding that shit and yanking their ass. And at least the first way of doing that would be to completely separate from them and say, look, we're not going to like do what black men did in the church. we're not going to. Now, women are, the church is still in existence. It's just, it don't got a lot of dudes in there. It's just women on their own, spinning their wheels, becoming spinsters and shit. But dudes should not contribute to the gynocracy by basically validating that bullshit. We don't. So we contribute to it in our own ways. I mean, I got other pillars. I've gone deeper into it. Part of it is I'm tired a little bit, but yes, we definitely do contribute to the gynocracy. We contribute to it by basically undermining other men, because we have this Highlander issue where dudes will start to play both sides between men and women to carry favor with the women. Again, the desire with the women. This is where your Derek Jacksons come in. This is where a lot of dudes always want to advocate for black women and talk about how black men are accountable, but they never talk about this. They never talk about how we're accountable to basically allowing our women, supporting our women being in open rebellion against us. They always say, well, what are you doing to the women to actually make them do what they're doing, as if they're not in control of their own behavior. You don't hear that so much on this panel, but on other channels, they do that a lot.
Yeah, I know. Jojo Sigma says, Mr. Bernard, can we set up a live stream on Friday? On Friday, I do the Obsidian versus the Black Love Industry, but send me an email. My email should be in the About section. Send me an email. We'll get something set up. Yeah,
Obsidian versus the Black Love Industry is a perfect example of that subversion that you see. All them dudes know what the deal is. All them dudes are red pill. Let me tell you that right now. All them dudes know because they have to be red pill because they have to know what not to do in order to know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a salesman. People that are good at sales, they know when they're selling smoke and when they're not selling smoke, because then how would you know? So understand that. Understand Derek Jackson, and it's been come out with Derek Jackson in particular and how he conducts himself in real life. They all know what the deal is. So they're known. They're not. Oh, they're saying what they don't know. Some people are like that, but people in the Black Love when I say Black Love industry, I'm talking about the folks that cater to women. By the way, they know what time it is. They know, and that's why those videos are very important, because you call that out, and some of them are on different degrees when it comes to that, but. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to bring some folks up, real quick, we can do that.
Yeah,
I've kind of said what I'm curious of what their opinions on what I've said was as far as that desire thing, but I'm sure I'll have some people argue. Oh well, all men desire, all men do, but all men don't do it. All men don't value desire of women at the expense of their own power. That's the difference. White men don't desire white women so much that they're willing to trade off their power position for it. Well, how do you explain the rise of feminism? Feminism wasn't them trading power. It was them consolidating power amongst the rich and using that to buffer out the lower classes. So it was different.
Super Triz says, don't be talking about my black queens, Edward Slanderson. Shout out and
I can't stand dudes that call, I shout out to Andre Hatchett. So this ain't against him or anybody else, but I really don't like calling black women queens. I don't like the king shit either. I just think it's gang.
Right. What up, Roastmaster? He says Little Big Nate is the man. Yeah, Little Big Nate sent me an email. I told him to email me. I didn't get a chance to email him back quite yet, but I'm trying to get Little Big Nate in here for a one-on-one.
How many is your
He's bringing the heat. I think Ed had to drop down again. Let's see what's going on. We got Sister George's moderator coming in here telling us what the show is about. The discussion is not about black women, so I'm bringing it up because if she knows what the fuck this discussion is about. Okay. Right. Ed dropped down. I think Ed had to refresh.
Yeah. I usually don't ever tell. I'm curious of what Lacey really looked like, because she got like the typical black feminist fucking Like y'all love them the typical black feminist avatars that the lipstick and all that shit. Because I'm like, wow, can we really have some diversity up in here? But she kills me with. I've never seen somebody so in red in black male spaces, but trying to tell black men what the fuck to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of weird shit going on. It was I just stumbled by this chick. I can't remember her name. She had popped up on me. She had popped up on my feed. I cannot remember her name. Black chick, dark skin, got dreadlocks. She even though she looked kind of light skinned in some of her pictures that she got on YouTube, she talking about divesting, talking about a lot of that David Carroll that propaganda that David Carroll point out, how they trying to make it seem like black women are used as human shields in the revolution. All that shit. She talking about
Oh, I
all that.
love that shit because they never have that conversation. You notice that most of the time when folks say stuff like that, that conversation is never had with a black man present, or it's gonna be some kind of suspect dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously, because if you have, and I'm not even talking about like on YouTube. I've seen that conversation. Shout out to Dennis Sperling. I've seen that on like local news and stuff like that. When you actually have dudes present, their ability to say that shit when you got somebody credible, they won't say it. They know what it is. This is why, and you never see a lot of real interactions with black men and black women on TV or even in these spaces
Yeah,
ever.
man.
Even and to be fair, what's that woman on the Breakfast Club? Just so y'all don't think I'm just beating up the sisters. If you got somebody with real information, it's gonna make folks look stupid.
Yeah,
They
you talking
need
about
to
Angela
control the
Stanton,
conversation.
she went on the
Yeah,
Breakfast
you have
Club.
to control the people have to control the conversation because we already know it's not that Charlemagne is dumb, but Charlemagne knows what it is. He knows what he's in, so he's only gonna do so much. So anyway, but yeah, it's the same thing in reverse. They never want to talk to dudes, and it's crazy, and it's funny because it's funny, man. They really have no, and when they do get involved with dudes, it's like they don't know how to talk. It's like they ratchet up the volume like to 1,000 because they don't want to have a real conversation. Because what they really wanted to do is be an argument as a way of getting around actually getting to the bottom of shit, which is another way of avoiding shit and deflecting. But folks don't recognize that. But anyway,
Right on, right on. Super Trez in the building. What's going on? It sounded like you was driving a truck, man. What's going on?
Well, I'm technically driving a SUV, so
Yeah.
I'm on my way home. Yeah, but yeah, shout out to you, Bernard Riley. Shout out to Edward Anderson. Um, yeah, Edward Anderson, you made a great point. When you spoke of you know certain demographics or certain populations of men preferring the admiration and desire of women as opposed to actual respect, and it's interesting that you brought that up because um, it, it, it brings into the picture a particular demographic of men who engage in cuckoldry, which is the exact opposite, in which they actually relinquish the actual desire, and actually allow the woman to desire and lust after another man. But from their perspective, they retain some semblance of power because they oversee the actual sexual act. So that's the interesting dynamic that we really don't see as frequently in the black male demographic, but we see it in other groups.
that's interesting because that's another way of bringing that up, so folks don't think I'm just well, what about other dudes? It's the opposite with black. You would never see black men do that based on how black ADOs, based on how black men are wired. You would just never see that, and yeah, you would never see that
But the
because of
question,
some of this.
but okay, so the question then becomes, Edward, if if the actual end goal is some semblance of equality, where um, your achievements are merit based, not based on your ethnic affiliation. So at least black men would have a fighting chance in the grand scheme of things. If black men were to ascend the socioeconomic strata, do you think that black men would then desire power more than actual lust and admiration? And would you expect to see, um, you know, cuckoldry, um, to the extent you see it in other groups?
I think on individual, I think you do see the higher in class they rise, the less of an issue this is. I absolutely believe that. You can see that with like what 92s complain about. This is true individually, but I could also say it's true collectively. So I do think the class that you're in depends on what that is. And people will say, well, you can simp in any class, you can trick in any class. That's definitely true. But at the end of the day, when you got money, you have a certain amount of leverage. And again, if we're talking about all women, not necessarily just our women, dudes in higher classes are willing to not necessarily be exclusive to sisters, which is one thing the sisters complain about. So they're willing to tap into that leverage versus dudes based on circles versus and environment matters too, but versus dudes in the lower classes are not necessarily willing to do that, or able to do that as much. So you do see the higher they rise up. So as a collective group, it just depends. Because just because you give somebody more money, don't mean they're gonna change their mindset. But if you look at people that ascend in certain classes, like the top 15% or 10%, you do see that this is less of a problem.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what is the source of your ascension, because if you are to climb say for instance, the corporate ladder, um, because of your interfaces with other demographics, you kind of code switch, and then it becomes a part of your personality once you do it for so long. And a lot of those characteristics that allow you to excel, um, in those circles, are often off-putting to ethnic women, in a manner of speaking. And so you no longer have that, quote unquote swag or appeal, even though, the personality characteristics that you've adopted have allowed you to excel, from a business standpoint, socioeconomically. And so now you become more reliant on your financial attributes as opposed to your personality characteristics
Mm.
to attract the opposite sex.
Well, Rod, Super Trez, and I know Roger jump in. I want you to finish. But how many dudes have purposely not risen in America? How many dudes have purposely capped themselves because of fear of losing swag appeal? That's something I didn't mention because it is need to be desired. I know a lot of dudes. I know dudes like especially early in life in high school and stuff. They purposely dumb down themselves, and that becomes a part of their fucking personality later on in life because they're looking at the feedback loop of women based on the need to be desired, and they never grow out of that. So what happens is it's almost like the need for desire creates the type of men that women want, but they also creates the type of men that women complain about. In the sense that dudes, you're not having as many guys that are pushing their way up into the top 10% or the top 3% of black men, aka six figures, because the man being swag and other things are more appealing to a woman. So therefore they cap themselves or they only push themselves in certain environments, like things that are illegal and shit like that, or sports or entertainment.
But they've achieved the goal at that point. You see the reason I came up with the term
Hmm.
hardworking man. Okay, the reason I said the term hardworking men, and well, in other societies you always have hardworking men and beautiful women. That's just normal around the world. But in our community, we have an issue where we have hardworking women, which they complain about a lot. And who are they with? They're with beautiful men. So that and beautiful men encompasses all the men who try to move and operate more how women did. So to be a hobosexual, to be the house husband, to be the guy that's not trying to be the breadwinner in his own home. That's what women used to do on a regular basis, and no one said anything about it. It's expected. No one trips about a woman who lives in a situation where her man is taking care of her. So you have men that've been trained to take on that same role, and a lot of them just come from single motherhood. They come from single mother-led homes. And see, the thing is, nowadays we got a lot of men who are just fighting to get the women, but we don't fight beyond just getting a women because that's where a lot of us have been trained. Now, me coming out of a two-parent home, there's a lot of stuff I see
especially once I really start exposing myself to a lot of folks over the internet, it's a lot of stuff I see that just comes across absolutely retarded to me. I don't just say it like that, but it seems absolutely retarded to me that I see so many men battling for some woman's desire, or they really fight for validation from women the same way women have always wanted to be validated from men, because we regard women's beauty, and their beauty means a lot to them, and it means a lot to what type of man they can deal with. A lot of brothers, we get to the point where once we learn we can access the pussy, we don't really need to fight for anything else, because we already got what our goal is, because we've been taught that pussy is the goal. So, and you can get you can get pussy at any level. Like, even when people have always had, when people, I heard that whole argument about the educated lane versus versus the pookies. My thing was like, pussy is given there to everybody. Because what I'm saying, I remember my first time in the barbershop years and years ago, when I was telling this to women, I was like, in the black community, the reason why things are the way they are is because pussy is so readily available to a man at any level. And the man that's fresh out of prison is getting pussy just like the man who has 3 degrees, just like the man who's a doctor. The pussy just given out so freely. And a lot of men have now been trained that pussy is the goal. So once you get pussy, you don't need to fight for anything more. So why do you have to accomplish anything in the black society where pussy is going to always be given to you no matter what level you're on? And you're going to get it from women that you do desire. See, a lot of men say, well, y'all just not getting pussy from the women y'all want. Man, I see beautiful women giving pussy to all types of dudes. You don't have to really come up with much of anything to get a beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? Now, yeah, you're always going to have a smaller group of women that they need you to make X amount of dollars. They need you to have X type of status. But that's not the majority of our women. They just don't do that. And because you have so many men that have been trained by women, we really have been taught as a group of men that pussy is the goal.
Right on, right on. I hear you on that. Hey, everybody, let's see. We got 318 people in here, only 128 likes. That is ridiculous. Let's get these likes up. We should be hitting at least bare minimum 150. I should say 200. We should be at 200 likes. Let's get the likes up. Let's let people know that you're in here. I'm dropping the link in the chat again, so y'all can come on up and have your say on this topic. This was a one-on-one with Edward Anderson. We got Super Triz and Roger Report up here. It was a title, and it was Desire versus Respect. We got a few people giving their perspective on that. So I want let's see. Hold on. I'm about to pull up that email again, because Ed, you sent a lot of Ed, you are there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I said, I mean,
okay.
some of those were different. Some of those were different topics. Those days I just cobbled together.
Yeah, no, but no,
some
some of them are loosely related. But no, go ahead if you was about to say something.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted Roger to be clear that Beautiful Man Say was his, and I love it because it's an off-putting statement. It's not really a diss. It's kind of like one of those things that like hit dogs holler. Like if dudes are doing that shit to some level, they're gonna feel a certain type of way about it. What do you mean, beautiful man? Like, yeah, that's what it is. And so a lot of these dudes that have this mentality, they will take exception to what he's saying, because at the end of the day, it calls it out in a very direct way, but indirect way, saying that shit happens. And now some people will come in here and try to add in that, yeah, you got dudes that they're doing their own thing, even though they may be dealing with a woman. Of course that happens. That's not really who we're talking about. I'm not really talking about the Jesse Williams situation, where you could argue he was a quote unquote beautiful dude because if you compare who he was as a dude to who his wife was, I mean, you could clearly see that she paid for him. But at the end of the day, he built his stuff up. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about dudes that are in this perpetual cycle. And y'all know who I'm talking about. The dudes that you can't tell them shit. I'm not saying I should be able to tell anybody anything, but you can't tell them shit because they're getting buns. The ones that always want to default to everything just comes back to you crying because you ain't getting pussy. That's their common deflection on everything. Because at the end of the thing, that and I've seen this, because when dudes actually can demonstrate that that's not a problem for them, a lot of dudes don't know what to say at that point. They're done talking because that's the only thing they really have. And it's a mentality in the collective of black men. And it's not just in like one group that's not productive. You see it a little bit in the productive groups as well. And again, everything in moderation. Like this, I mean, obviously men want to be desired, but I think you're not supposed to want to subvert your power or your own potential power over desire. And this comes back to that ego. This is the ego part of my stuff. The black male ego, the black male guilt, and black men need to be desired are like three pillars of black male psychology of dysfunction as to how it contributes to dudes actually validating women being over them.
And I want to say this too, because the whole concept about the beautiful man with the hardworking women, because it has zero to do with what the dude actually looks like. I just simply have noticed in the black community that if you're basically like a bum dude that ain't really doing anything, you're still highly desired by women. And it's not like it's just ugly women. No, it's attractive women that want a bum dude too. And there's a lot of women who take pride into earning more than their men. So they literally are competing with their men. A lot of women say they don't, but the truth is they are competing.
And
with
it's
their
more
men, but
women
they
that
see
feel
that.
some type. It's some women that feel some type of way about what their man is making too. Like they mean it's like how women talk about motherfuckers that date out. They all love to act like they don't care, but deep down they care. I'm about to pop off one more time because I'm jumping this on my computer because I'm tired of this fucking phone. So yeah.
You know, one thing I want to mention is that, you know, when you talk about, I wouldn't consider myself a beautiful man by any means, but there was a point in time when I wasn't quite as productive as I am now. And I distinctly remember, you know, driving my mom's car. My mom had a Hyundai Tiburon some years ago. Matter of fact, I believe it was the first model Hyundai Tiburon that came out. And I remember picking up my cousin, and we would drive around in my mom's car, picking up chicks. And some of the chicks were pretty damn attractive. I will say that. And it's like, now I look at, you know, where I'm at in life now. It is a substantial difference, but yet, the actual women I have I mean, there are women I have access to now that I didn't have access to when I was at that age, but it's not commensurate, because the amount of women that the quality and I won't even say quality, but the amount and the actual characteristics of the women I had access to far exceeded my station at that time when I was younger, driving my mom's car. And it just, like, I feel like now that I possess more, it's like some women actually expect more because they feel like you got it. And whereas a guy who was of a lower station, or just isn't quite as productive, doesn't have to do as much because they just don't expect much from him. And so and it's an interesting dynamic because I've been on both sides of that actual coin. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
What I think it sounds
technically,
like they were short-sighted to not see your potential.
so the way I view it is, technically we've all been on both. If you've become a productive man, you've been on both sides, because at some point in time you were a kid and you became an adult at 18, and you really didn't have much. A normal person don't have much at 18 years old. But did you have an issue getting women when you were 18? Did you have an issue getting women when you were 19, 20, 21? No, we were getting women and we had nothing. So the more you scale up, you know what I'm saying? Sure, you can get access to quote unquote better women, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't have a better term to use for it now. But as far as in terms of beauty and having nice looking women, I got that when I was an 18-year-old bum with nothing. You see what I'm saying? I didn't need anything to get a woman. They're gonna take me anyway, and that's why I always tell guys that when they argue about which men do women want? My thing is pay attention. They giving pussy to everybody, so why you tripping? You know what I'm saying? Now, when you start to achieve something, a lot of women now, they want elite men, and see, now you can get squeezed out if you're in the middle, or if you do too well, because women are competing with the men. They want a man that makes less than them. So if you're making 50,000 a year and she making 35,000 a year, see, now you're a problem for her because you make too much. Now, see, if you made $1 million a year, you're an elite man, so it's okay. Well, even if you just make 100,000 a year, you're an elite man, so you're okay. They'll take an elite. They don't want anyone in that middle area for a lot. What, you know what I'm saying? They really don't want too many men in the middle area for a large portion of black women. They want you to be less than them, or you have to be at elite level. And that's why you have so many women who are unsatisfied now, and they can't get any real relationship with men because they don't even respect other men in general. And men
So
see
let them
that
be.
disrespect, so they don't deal with them.
Like, I wouldn't
So
personally. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say the suffering was going to come if you map it out. You know what I'm saying? If you disrespect the men that's willing to talk to you, and you focus on the elite men that don't want you, and then the men that you settle for is the ones who make less than you. There's only one real conclusion you're gonna get to: an unsatisfied woman.
No, what the conclusion is, she's unable to be unsatisfied to begin with, because we're talking about building families and, having a future for our children, and then everything is just bowed down to money, right? Like, nobody's talking about, when I hear people say black men don't want families, but then when I hear describe what it is people are looking for, they just want a penis, they want a sucker with pockets. I don't hear, when I listen to Kevin Samuel's show, all right, I brought this up before I said in the chat, all I hear is basketball wives. I want to find out how to be a sugar baby, but I want that to be a relationship. So he need to pay all the bills. I want to stay at home. Well, why do you want to stay at home? Because you want to take advantage. You want to be a leech. You want to get something for nothing. Being a stay-at-home woman isn't about being a mother and nurturing children and, building a household and helping support a household. It's so that she can rob him of his money. That's it. And the fact that we keep going around in these conversations is insane to me. It's very clear what it is they want. I mean, we keep talking about how if you have these brothers who are upper echelon, we have plenty of examples of brothers who are upper echelon. Are those women following them and being submissive? Well, every 5 minutes, a handsome, rich, 19-foot tall guy is being divorced, and his wife is taking him. Like, this is why the manosphere and MGTOW started, because men were doing and taking care of kids that weren't theirs and paying all the bills, and they got robbed. So now, after 5 years in the manosphere, after we've had the conversation about, why she needs to contribute, which is really why the 50-50 conversation started, because basically men were just getting robbed. Now we're back to paying 100% so you can get robbed in divorce court. Like, it's crazy to me. This is insane.
Well, one of the reasons why the stuff keeps coming back to, again, because we always talk about what the women are doing, but I'll juxtapose that against why it's like saying there's no fish here, so why you keep fishing? What? So then it becomes just the pleasure of the activity of fishing. And that's where that desire piece comes in. Oh, we ain't gonna catch fish, but we're just gonna be here to have a good conversation in the solitude of this boat in this water. That's basically what a lot of this is. Now, is this all black men in this situation? No. But we're talking about the law of averages because communities are built around the law of averages. And even if you segment, even if you say, okay, we're only gonna focus on the top 50%, and you segment the bottom 50%, and keep in mind the bottom 50% is predicated on who the women want to deal with. Let the black community see. We already define a black community by the black men by who the black women want to fuck with. This is why Obsidian creates this opposite effect as far as the non-select guy, because those are because he's doing it based on production and based on who you are as a man, independent of what the women want. But most black men see the community as the men that the women want, and then all the other dudes. And you can see it in, like, even when we came up with this height shit, you saw the comments. Dudes couldn't help but bring out certain comments. They could 6 foot gang, this, that. I'm like, why? Okay. Like you could see in how they were reacting. That desire shit, that's actually a universal marker as to if I want it to come out. That's how you bring it out easily. It's a couple other ways I could easily bring it out, like instinctively in black men. But a lot of dudes, you will see how the collective of dudes just start to change as far as how they start to promote that. Because again, that matters if for nothing else, because they know that's a universal beauty marker. So it's not really the height, it's that what they think the height gives them or what they're used to. This is also why when a lot of dudes say they can't identify with other dudes that are complaining with women, they're looking at it from a desire perspective. And this is actually what separates a lot of the dating coaches that actually are the dudes that are actually dating coaches that try to give a good advice, and then motherfuckers that are like dating advocates. This is what they're advocating for. They're advocating for black men to pursue desire over power. And they always try to switch it up into other things, but that's really the common denominator as to what they're talking about. And that's pretty much the status quo of the community. And we all know what the status quo of the community is. So again, we have to come back to why do black men kind of know this? Because they don't have to come to the manosphere to know this shit. They know they may not, it may be brought to the surface in a very clear way, but they know what the fuck we're talking about at some level. They just have been taught to ignore it and to not really look at it as a problem.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons that I felt like I had to put it in the terms of the beautiful men and the hardworking women. We got women complaining that they're doing too much because now they want to be housewives, even though they're gonna hit certain ages where it's pretty much no chance they're gonna ever achieve that. But then you have these beautiful men that are so focused on how women desire them, they're not gonna go through what it takes to put the women that they do have in a home and let her not work. That's just not what their interest is. But a lot of brothers don't even understand that's what they're doing to a certain. Well, they don't pay attention to it. I'm gonna say that because I don't even believe in saying what people don't understand anymore, because we're in the information age. We can understand anything we want to. But it's a lot of people who don't focus on that because it's not really brought up. So my thing is, if you want to move like a traditional woman, you're a grown man. You can do what you want to do, but accept that you move like a traditional woman. You know what I'm saying? Accept that you're a beautiful man. And like I said, it has nothing to do with what you look like. But if you want to move like a woman, expect the world to treat you like a man that's trying to move like a woman. And don't expect to be viewed in any kind of real way with a lot of respect, especially from other men. Because we see you as a man that wants to be a woman.
Good shit. Good shit. Let's see where we at with this, because I just got a Cash App. Well, I said D right there. Thank you for the Cash App. And somebody else just came through. Savant88. Thank you for that Cash App. One thing I do want to throw into the conversation, because you keep talking about in other communities you got men working hard, women are beautiful, but with us it's supposedly women are working hard, men are beautiful. I understand the concept and everything, but it is one little small
Black man work hard as fuck.
I got that. You know where I'm going, Keith. But,
Come on.
But let's call it where it is. Black women, they're equally employed in the labor. They're in the labor force at the same rate as white women. So white women are doing just as much, if not more work, making more money. It's like, so let's not make it seem like black women have Asian men earning status out here.
Well, no.
That's not. I
know y'all didn't say that, but
but I want to jump on this because I'm the one that kind of low key brought it up with the desire thing. Understand, it's not so much a money thing. It's more of how, when you create certain groups, even though there may be other dynamics, people tend to gonna group up how they're used to grouping up. So when you look at Roger said it, when you look at the dynamic, we know black men have more wealth than black women as a collective group, despite black women giving a whole bunch of advantages. We know we individually on the law averages make more money than they do. Segment any section, and black men usually beat out as it generally is supposed to be, despite the advantages the women are given. The job is used as an excuse, but the reality of it is that the women, even if women are not employed, if they're getting money from other shit, they're still going to have this mindset of they're better. Black women come by default thinking they're better than you. White women do not, non-black women do not think they're by default better than their men. They all have their complaints, but they don't have this thing where they really deep-rootedly believe they are actually superior than their men. They don't believe that. They see their men as their foundation. And here's the thing: I'm not asking them to do shit. I'm not asking them to
Black
change.
women don't even believe that, Edward.
Huh?
Black women don't even
Well,
believe it, bro.
they do. They believe it. You see it in their actions. They deep rootedly believe it. Or even if I even see that point, they want to believe it so bad that it's a distinction without a difference.
They need to believe it because
they
they
act on
can't
it.
be who we need them to be. I mean, it's almost like, Edward, I'll say it like this. So when I was a teenager in high school, sometimes we would go to KFC for lunch, off grounds, right? And this one time I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and these motherfuckers didn't have any chicken. I swear to God. Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? So do you know what they tried to do? They tried to sell me a fucking parfait that nobody eats.
Well,
okay.
I disagree with that, Silent, because
they're selling what they got
because
they don't got femininity.
Because you see black women code switch. See, before you dudes really notice that black women will code switch, you see how they completely act different. So I get
and
that,
it's still fake. And when you look at those videos, Edward, it's still fake as fuck. And she's moving all jerky and
a lot of what non-black women do is fake too. But what I'm saying though is they do have this deep-seated belief that they're better than their men. Now, whether we want to say it's fake or not, black women lie to themselves better than they lie to anybody else. That's why a lot of stuff comes off as authentic. But to Bernard's point, we're not saying that black women are outworking black men. What we're saying is because it doesn't matter if you're a dude that you make millions of dollars. Take Shaq and Shawnee, for example. There's a lot of relationships like that in the upper echelons as far as like sports and stuff. Shawnee believed she was better than Shaq, even though Shaq was still bringing in the money. It's that kind of dynamic.
So wouldn't you call that insane?
I'm not saying it's not insane, but I'm just answering Bernard's question that we're not talking about what dudes are not doing. Now, there are some dudes that are perfectly fine being kept men, and they will actually come out here and brag to you about they may not be kept men with one woman, but they're kept men in the kind of collection of women. And they will use that to try to juxtapose that against somebody that has real power. There's dudes, I'll say this and I'll let Roger jump in. There's dudes that literally, if you have a dude that has the ability to lead men, there's actually dudes that see the ability to be admired by women as a more useful power than being led by men in the black community or being a leader of men. If you ask a dude, which one would you rather be, a leader of men, or would you rather be admired and desired by women? I would see to you most dudes would choose the latter. That's my point. So it has nothing to do with the actual work that's being involved, because we know we outwork our women, but if it's not work, it's going to be something else. If it's not work, it'll be a degree. Would you say that blue collar black men work harder than black women that have degrees?
Absolutely.
Okay, then. So we know what black women think of the blue collar black men, regardless of height, regardless of other markers. They think they're better than them, even if that bitch is working at Starbucks and he's got his own contractorship.
Right.
Anyway,
go ahead, Roger.
Exactly. So it's not about the work that's actually done. Yeah. It's not about the work that's actually done. It's really about the value system that people are being trained to deal with. Because what I see from a lot of brothers is that they come up in this world and a lot of them are very female influenced in their mindsets. And honestly, at this point in my life, if I meet a brother who comes from a single mother led home, I try to deal with, what I'm saying? I try to I always tell people give him to about 25 years old, because at 18 years old, he's gonna be thinking so off and more so heavily in women influence that he gonna need 7 years in the world just to really even get what do men really think about things versus what do women think about things. So he need a little time. I'm not saying make an excuse for the brother, but I don't view him quite the same way I view any other guy. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, okay, well, he still ain't had 7 years in the real world yet. But my thing is it's not about the work concept, because men outwork women. Everybody pretty much knows that. Maybe you may not admit it, but everybody knows men outwork women. But the thing is, when it comes to our community, the work you do is not respected from that community level because you have so many women that do not respect what black men do. They do not respect what black men accomplish. And this is taught to boys. So you'll always have some group of men. It may be, it'll be a minority of men, but you're going to have a minority of men that also don't respect what black men do. So everything that we do or accomplish, if it's not about that woman, it means absolutely nothing. That's why you can have people that are high achievers, like a Robert Smith, who does something. Well, I mean, we know what he did to that graduating class, and then he extended to clear up the parents' debt as well. And rather than respect the great thing that he did, we'll have people find a reason to attack him. In his particular case, they use the wife he has now to disrespect him. But at the end of the day, if you didn't have that desire to disrespect that man, regardless of what he did for that class and regardless of his achievement, you wouldn't have looked for anything to disrespect him about. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Roger Report, what you're referring to really is based on culture, because when you look at some of the other groups, right, that that are within this melting pot, right, in particular groups that come from outside of the United States, these groups have very, very tight familial bonds and community bonds. So, for instance, in Indian culture, your cousin, say for instance, your male cousin, you consider them as your brother, and your second, third cousin is like your cousin. Your uncle is almost like your dad. You have to respect your uncle's word as if it was coming from your own father. So the actual familial relations are one step closer than what is considered than what is regarded amongst the remainder of the population. And so when they have like gatherings, like say for instance there's some sort of marriage, some sort of or funeral, or maybe like a some type of gathering of some sort, some type of party, everybody is expected to show up. I don't care how old you are. It's mandatory. You don't miss that. So this is the reason why the weddings cost so much, is because everybody has to show up. It's non-negotiable. And so when you consistently have to interface with your relatives, with your community, there's a certain level of scrutiny that comes along with that. You can't just show up there without having made progress since the last time they saw you. You can't just show up there with anybody off the street, because they will hold you accountable for the choices that you've made. And this is something that we don't see within our own community, is that level of scrutiny, because we don't have the gatherings we have is at the club. And the club is with, people that you don't know. You're probably not going to see them again, that type of stuff. But as far as like an actual community gathering where you consistently see the same people over and over again, year after year, now there's a certain level of intrinsic accountability, because like, damn, I don't want to show up, and look like, like I'm struggling.
Sound like you're describing Willie Lynch.
Well, I mean, but what I'm talking about is like, I think a lot of the issues arise from is because there's just no scrutiny.
Or Willie Lynch.
Explain.
You don't know what Willie Lynch was?
No, I want you to explain.
Elaborate on how that's connected to what he's saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, quite simply, Willie Lynch was specifically designed to do just that. Turn the old against the young, the women versus the men, the light versus the dark, the house nigga versus the field nigga. All right. The smart. That was what Willie Lynch's design was, to keep you separated from each other. So it worked.
Well, what he's talking about is shame, though. He's talking about the intrinsic cultural mechanism.
I mean, I know what he's talking about, Edward. I know what he's talking about. I'm responding to what he's talking about by saying, did those Indians, were they Willie Lynched? I mean, yes, it is.
Oh, I get what you're trying to say. All right, go ahead.
I mean, were they forcing Indian sons to fuck his mother blindfolded? I mean, Come on.
He's trying to basically, just so we're clear. I mean, I don't need to translate what Silent is saying, but it took me a second to get it, and I know I'm smart, so so just take it like that. But he's trying to say what broke down the mechanism. Why does the mechanism you're talking about, Super Triz, no longer exist? Now, I would say it's because feminism destroyed it, black feminism. But you could say that Willie Lynch before that. Yeah, I get what you're trying to go at.
The main thing is that black family is not respected, and I know I've told people on multiple occasions that at the end of the day, you're gonna have to fix the family dynamic, because to really have set up true legacies. And I accept that black people just start really getting money again now. I accept that, because people say that. I accept that. But my thing is, if you're going to build an empire, it's got to start somewhere. And for empires to flourish, I mean, I understand because of technology has advanced a few things. But if we look over time, most empires were created over 100 years or so. So you got to have somebody to pass something down to, and you got to have respect throughout families. If you have a child that does not, well, he barely knows his brothers and sisters, because I got 3 brothers that live in that house. I got a sister that lives in this other house down the block. I got another sister that lives out of state. You don't even have that close family dynamic. So we don't respect each other family wise. And if you don't respect family the way we should, you definitely don't respect strangers the way you should. And if you don't respect strangers the way you should, you cannot have a good sense of community. See, when I go out into the world, because I love my family, I see other black people as quote unquote somewhat of an extension of my family. Those are my people at the end of the day. No matter what they do, whether it looks bad or looks good, those are my people. And I understand that. There's a lot of us that truly don't understand that, because we barely know our brother. We barely know our son. We just don't feel the same way.
I agree with that. Oh, I wanted to respond real quick to Mr. Miracle. He says the black family was intact up into the 1950s. So Willie Lynch was way before that. So you don't think a part of Willie Lynch is sending government workers to check under beds to make sure there's no fathers in the home? Right? You don't think it's Willie Lynch that you take up and lock up all these black men, take them all out of the community for nonviolent drug offenses?
Yeah.
I mean, like I mean, I know you guys hate bring it up, but this shit matters.
Yeah, we
when
just
you say things that are just is.
That's all.
Like, if you're just saying things that are just is, I mean, this shit, you can't separate it. You can try to.
No, we all know. Well, we all are on the same page with that. It's just we call it white supremacy. So, and I mentioned that before. I said
I try to not to use that word because I know everybody's you're white supremacy. I just try to describe shit. But yeah.
Oh well, shit. Fuck them.
You know. But yeah, I mean,
you react the way they want to react to shit. So
you don't think they understood that if you remove the fathers from the home, you would destroy the community? I mean, if I'm the man pulling the strings up at the top, right? Like. That sounds like obvious good business to me. Okay, this is what I'm going to do to eliminate competition, because this is a time where, white men can work for GM, right? And make all this money and pay, 80, 90% in taxes, right? That can only work when you don't give black people any jobs, right? So if you just leave black people at the bottom, then you can just pay 5 white people to work assembly lines at Ford and for them to retire and shit, So...
But the reason why I understand something though, when it comes to that desire stuff, the reason why I even brought this up is because this kind of takes white supremacy out of it and talks about, because really they presented the choice.
Yeah.
And then you have to understand that black people made a choice. Like, see, even when you hear certain black female Republicans, when they're being like, not on some Candace Owens shit, but trying to be on some real shit, they always and black women too, when they trying to, give common ground. Or at least lead with that. They always try to make the government the big bad. Like everything's the government's fault, which there's some truth to that. But the other part of it is you still made a choice. And women will try to absolve their choice. Now, me with this desire shit, I'm talking about the choice that dudes make. Dudes choose to validate that shit. And let's take the dudes off. We're not talking about, this is not about beating up dudes to get pussy. In fact, let's take them off the table. What I'm talking about, like, did they get the sperm donor class is what I mean. The dudes that have that desirability. This whole, and I should have said this in the beginning because I know motherfuckers are gonna take it this way. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. But this whole thing I've done has nothing to do with those dudes. It has nothing to do with the dudes that get the desire that they want, or very little to do with them. This is about dudes that choose to plug into a system that doesn't validate you. Men are not supposed to validate a community that does not validate them. And Obsidian talks to this too, to a certain extent. If dudes do not control the community, dudes are not going to be responsible for communities that they don't control and communities that don't give them what they need. It's like an insurance policy. If you don't get what you want with insurance, you're not going to fucking pay it. You're going to find another insurance policy. And the insurance policy is only as powerful as the group or the amount of people they have that's paying into the insurance as far as the benefits that they can provide. So my point is, you know, dudes will sit there and know that the community doesn't benefit them, but not only will they stay, they will actually try to shame and shepherd other dudes in the same. And let's say this, we're not talking about
isn't that leadership? I mean, isn't that kind of innate in men that's leadership?
No, but here's the final point. The final point is when you shepherd people into something that you know doesn't benefit them, that's called hustling. That's not leadership. Like leadership would be telling the truth about what it is, and then basically, okay, that's actually a great point. So I really want to address that.
Okay, I mean, you said so many words, I forgot the actual context. I thought you.
I mean, did you, or are you just saying that?
No, I did. Like, no, I thought you were saying, like, you know, those men that, you know, they're basically not appreciated, but they're like trying to round people up to change the community.
Not those men. I'm talking about dudes. Okay. Let me. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dudes that basically they will try. They know it's a bad deal. BGS talks about this all the time. They know it's a bad deal. But what they're going to do is not only will they argue with black men that's saying it's a bad deal while avoiding to change the deal. This is where the insurance policy part came in. What they'll try to do is they will lie to dudes. They will perpetuate the lie. So when you ask yourself, how did we get here? How did we get to like millennials? All of us, this shit realized. Well, first of all, the shit got overt like it wasn't before. And the second thing is a lot of dudes at some level, they acquiesce to this shit. And basically said, this is why it is. This is why you always hear motherfuckers always talk about, well, women are just that's what women do when they bitch and complain. Because they say that's harmless. And you shouldn't even be complaining about that because there's no harm in that. When it actually is a lot of harm in that. Because they're basically paving the way for black men to be harmed because they're making us seem like we're horrible people, undeserving of sympathy. But that's a part of them acquiescing to what black women
Super Triz, would you chopping onions over there? What the hell was that?
Oh, I thought I was muted. My bad.
All right.
Super Triz trying to hook it up for us.
He's chopping onions. That's that passive aggressive black woman shit. Oh, what? that's that Mella method.
He's like, yeah,
I
I'm
ain't talking in a while. I'm about to fuck up this damn stream today.
Be like, bitch, you ain't never cooking. No,
I'm trying to fuck up the stream because y'all talk about my black queens.
No, but that's how they do
don't
it.
know now, nigga.
But
Justin March. Justin, hold on real quick. Justin March, thank you for that super chat. And Fatal Dose the Sage says BF Skinner is a psychologist that laid out the reward and punishment system being used against blacks. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Ed, you was talking. Go ahead and
no, I'm pretty much finished. But the leadership is not leadership because the real leadership would basically say, okay, we need to change. We need to change.
I just misunderstood your context.
Oh no. Okay, but I'm gonna jump on that too. Like real leadership, because what real leadership is to say, okay, the deal needs to change. Real leadership would be what Kevin's doing. Kevin's somebody that's definitely a proponent of marriage. But at the same time, Kevin is having the Q&A with the focus group, aka the Central start calling them the focus group, and basically, you know, telling them he says something, he allows them to give the feedback he does to a certain extent. He's gonna allow it because they'll cut the shit off of this bullshit, and then he has that Q&A that walks them through the fuckery, them seeing their own fuckery in the mirror. I'm gonna start calling it the mirror Q&A for the focus group. And he's saying, okay, this is the standard you need to be at to get the type of guys that he represents. Because he'll also say, as a guy, you need to be in that standard. So that would be what leadership is. That's not what a lot of dudes do. What they do is they'll lie to the dudes and because to keep them in the same position, and then lie to the women and saying their delusional bullshit is acceptable. That's what most.
I agree with that.
Well, here's the problem with
Go ahead.
Kevin Samuels, being a proponent of marriage, and shout out to Kevin Samuels, but my issue is that now he's addressing a population that has already been assimilated. Now, if as a collective, if ADOS African Americans were not assimilated and were operating separate and distinct from American culture at large, then they probably wouldn't succumb to the grim statistics of marriage, in this day and age. But unfortunately, we are assimilated, and so a lot of the marriages, fail even within the Black community. Maybe not to the same degree that we see in other groups. But
hold on, real quick. What do assimilation got to do with failure of marriage? Because I really don't understand the assimilated thing. Like we are Americans for better or worse.
This is like astrophysics of like.
Go ahead,
what I mean, the correlation I'm trying to draw is that, like say for instance, if you have like a say for instance a different group that's within the United States that comes from another country, right? And they've kind of stay within their own community. They interface with society at large, maybe in their occupation or in their business, but other than that, they return to their own community and interface with their own community, right? And so their perception of marriage is distinctly different from that of Americans. Mm-hmm. Our perception of marriage is something that's disposable. Like if you get married, it's not a big deal if you get divorced. But for other cultures, getting divorced is a big deal. And obviously, in this society, in Westernized civilization, for a man to get divorced puts his finances and his fortune in grave jeopardy. And so this is the reason why I have an issue with promoting marriage in this particular climate. Now, I am a proponent of long-term relationships and familial bonds, even marriage to a certain extent, given the right circumstances, because if used correctly, marriage can actually lead to successful communities.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus per se, because I do understand what he's trying to do conceptually, because of what the impact that successful marriages can have on the community. But my problem is that the environment that we're in, how is that benefiting the men with consideration of the extreme jeopardy that they're being put in?
Let me go. I want to go with what you're saying from a different angle. Because to quote unquote, to a degree, yes, we've been assimilated. But
when you guys are finished with your tete-a-tete, I'd like to add something.
Well, I'm just gonna say this: American culture is to hate Black men. That's what American culture is. Y'all can say something different if you like, but based on everything I've seen in this country since I've been alive, there's nothing about American culture that does not also have some attachment to hating Black men. And Black women have accepted American culture. You know what I'm saying? Most of them are truly white supremacists at the end of the day. They don't understand. They may not pay attention to it or whatever the case is, but they're truly white supremacists. Even when they talk to Black men, they use white supremacy talking points the same way you'll find like a Bill O'Reilly or somebody else, whoever saying it. But at the end of the day, hating Black men is part of American culture, and because they don't have that level of respect for Black men that other groups of women have for their men, regardless of what they're doing, of course marriages are gonna fail, because you don't even want to be with the person you're with. Black men is settling for Black women. And I think one of the major issues for Black men is a separate thing I want to say. I ain't want to lose this, but the concept of paying the cost to be the boss has not been taught enough in amongst Black men. If you ask me, see, if I can pay for something and I deal with it, okay, cool. if there's something out of my realm of income, I can accept that I can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So when you're dealing with certain type of women, you know, like you can't make 200,000 a year and expect a Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? You can't make 20,000 a year and expect to be with some woman that has no fame, but she wants to wear the latest what is Fendi bags or something, or you know, if you want to be into a lot of bougie stuff, I'm just gonna say that because I've never been super into name brands, but if you want to wear a lot of bougie stuff, but you're a dude that only make 20,000 a year, you got to accept that you can't afford that, and you got to move on and go for what you can afford. But at the end of the day, with a lot of guys not even having that concept of paying the cost to be the boss, some of them don't even know where they should be aiming. And that's a problem in itself. And they don't like the reaction they're going to get from a woman that doesn't respect the level that they're on. And then when it comes to a lot of the sisters, they don't understand that what a man has is going to determine what type of women he should be able to be with. And if you don't want to compete for those men, because black women don't respect black men in general to even compete for us. So, you know, that's why we have such a weight problem in the black community, because they don't expect white men to come get them. They don't expect, you know, Mexican men or any other men to come in and get them. So why would they exercise for black men? You know, why would they eat healthy for black men? Why would they want to be better mothers for black men? The respect level is just not there. Men ain't taught to pay the cost to be the boss. And that's something my father drilled into me and my mother drilled it into me. And they did it in separate situations. Like, you know what I'm saying? My father set it apart for me. My mother set it apart. Well, my father set it apart from my mother. My mother set it apart from my father. It was totally drilled into me as a kid. You have to pay the cost to be the boss. And that's what it is. And if you're unwilling to pay the cost to be the boss, you simply compromise with the person that's willing to pay. And a lot of us just won't do that.
Well, going back to what Kevin was talking about last night, the part of it that I watched, he had a woman on there, and it was like a revolutionary concept for her to think that an average looking woman would end up with just some average looking guy that makes average money. She couldn't even grasp it. She was like, wait a minute, that's settling. You had to say you're average. You're going to end up with the average man that makes average money. How is that a problem? But so that's an issue there as well, that a lot of them, you know, in this, like I always say, they love their freedom. And yes, we Americans, we got freedom. We can do what we want to do, how we want to do it. You can chart your own life. If a woman don't want to get married, she can just live a hedonistic life of just pleasure and not really think about what's really, you know, important. She can live that life. She can do that. That's reality. And that's where a lot of that, I don't know if it's exactly what you was getting at, but I think that's where a lot of that comes from, where the incentive to stay married isn't as strong. It's possible for her, even as a single mother with a little piece of a job and some assistance or a little child support, it's possible for her to make it without a man. It's possible for her to be able to function without a man and do everything that she, you know, essentially want to do and just get by. May not be living her absolute best life, but she's able to get by and have her freedom. And so many of them are good with that. And even when they end up in marriages, they get 5 years in and they feel held down and then they want to get out. So that's if somebody's going to try to find any flaw in what Kevin Samuels is doing, I think he's doing great work. I think he's doing very important work. But any flaw in that, the flaw in it is just simple American culture. Women are free in this, you know, post second wave of feminism world, and they could, you know, want one thing, then 8 years later decide, I don't really want this. And all the laws are set up in a way where they can get a somewhat easy out. It'll be a little work to get out, but somewhat easy out. And so that's the only tough part. That's the biggest obstacle in what he's doing. But everything else that he's doing is absolutely 100% on point, spot on, doing the Lord's work. And so I support him 100%.
Well, the thing about it is that he speaks of some of the statistics as far as like I guess some of the success factors for men, as far as their income, their eventual net worths, and But one of the subjective markers perhaps is just overall happiness. And every man that I've talked to, regardless of ethnicity, to include black men, has emphatically stated they would never get married again, and they would never recommend any man to ever be married. So whatever, if you are able to, climb the corporate ladder at work because of maybe you're more grounded because, now you have a woman at home, you're not, you have less distraction, perhaps. I mean, maybe that contributes to your successes, but the actual compromise you make is in your quality of life. At some point, is going to experience a dramatic decline. And this is the account that I get from most men that I talk to that have been married, at least the men that are able to be honest with me. A lot of men just don't even want to talk about marriage, but that are actually married. So that's the one of the other issues that I have is that, okay, so you finally do get married, but now again, to your point, Bernard, in this particular society, what is the incentive for women to actually perform within the confines of marriage consistently when now that once you get married, she literally and figuratively speaking has you by the balls?
That's a tough part. Like it'll take a full-blown cultural change. It's not just, hey, run to the altar, get married. It's about the entire mindset of people. It's like the amount of cultural change that has to take place is that's a mountain. That's no doubt a mountain to climb because that's the tough one. That's the tough one.
Well, may I say this? Because I'm a person that still believes in getting married. I always promote to men, you shouldn't even have a child unless you get married first.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
In my opinion,
100% on that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because my opinion, if you don't trust her enough to marry her, you definitely shouldn't trust her enough with your kid. That's just the way I look at it. But I think, yes, it'll take a cultural change to have it in large numbers. I always tell men that if you're going to marry a woman, you got to get a woman that actually believes in marriage in the first place, not just something that's what other people know. It's got to be like deep down set in her soul that this marriage is the right way to go with life, and she believes in staying married till she dies. You know what I'm saying? Women who are not raised that way, to me, shouldn't even be on the table to marry. And a lot of women that's just not what they believe in. So even if they're a nice looking person, they might have a nice body, can cook and a whole shebang. If you don't believe in marriage, at least not the way I do, I can't marry you, period, because I don't know what you're gonna do in 5 years. And I know based on what I've seen with other people, I know what you'll probably do in 5 years, and that's get a divorce. And my thing is, what's the point of marrying you just to get divorced 5, 6, 7 years later? There's no point.
Yeah.
And I think let me just say real quick, because I'm about to go. I think some men, we just care about the welfare of women too much, to a little bit too much. Okay. Because I think we should treat women a certain way. We should respect them. But when it comes to their life choices, we got to respect their life choices. And at the end of the day, a lot of women have bought into this feminism stuff. And we got to sit back and let them die alone so they can teach other women, other girls coming up behind them, that it's kind of stupid to be such a feminist to the point that men won't marry you, because you're going to have to deal with your old age by yourself. I don't care what a woman's complaint is, when everything she's complaining about is attached to her life choices.
Yeah, but you see, here's the thing.
It just is what it is. That's the box you put yourself in.
And wait, but that's part of the reason why, spaces like this, the Black Manosphere, and anybody who's banging the drum against what you're talking, like, okay, when you say we got to just let them die alone, but see, here's the thing. They have a whole media apparatus that is something that, where they talk about, they strong, independent, they get their own bag, they get their own money, they do this, they do, like, they basically, in the music and the songs, they praise the idea of all of that, not thinking about the dying alone outcome at the end. It's like that never comes up. It's always going to be some in that middle ground area to where, they late 20s to even to mid to late 30s and still look good or think they look good. Even some in the 40s that still look good or think they look good and got their own little bit of money.
Yeah,
and
it's a delusion engine, and it
yes,
go and
thank you. That
something.
summed it
It
up.
has something for like every age. It has something for a teenager. It has something for your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Hell, now they working on your 50s.
That goes back to what when me and Obsidian was playing that Derrick Jackson stuff, where he talking about the black women over 40, that's the most lit on the dating scene. That's part of that engine.
I mean that's insanity. And the thing that kills me is when you look at most black dating coaches. This is why I said what I said with ARC when he said, "Oh, I never said that." And a lot of times he gets lumped into stuff that like the dating industry, and that's where it's like the stuff gets because he's in this space, But a lot, like for instance, shit like Derrick Jackson, you'll never hear Derrick Jackson talk about dating other races of women. See, if you add in the concept of men having access to other races of women, a lot of that shit on his face just doesn't work. So when you say a woman is lit on the dating scene, it's over 40, that just can't work to a man that has access to decent looking women that are 25, 20, like that are under 30 of other races. That shit only can work if a man is exclusively dating black women, and that is a fantasy, especially if you're talking about the type of dudes that actually have economics behind them.
No matter where they're at, there's somebody somewhere telling them they're okay, no matter where they're at. So
you're right.
They will never.
It speaks to the need that black women have to believe that, and in revert. And that's the thing I really like. It's the need to believe the delusion and this desire shit, which is what Roger was talking about in regarding to dudes care too much, is this need to get a pat on the head, the need to be told you're not like these other niggas. It doesn't matter, like the dudes you're guilted up by, the females to get you up by because think about it, a lot of these women have kids, they don't die. See, it's the problem with well, not problem, but when folks are saying not to talk about they dying alone, here's the problem with that: these women rarely die alone. They usually have kids. And a lot of times they have sons. And what they do is they guilt their sons up. That's a part of that engine too, by telling the lies of their side of the story, talking about, it was that he left me, he did this, he making him look bad, not that you fucking chose wrong, anything like that. So they only get one side of the story. So now you got these dudes growing up with a guilt complex and a need to be desired, which just fucks up everything.
But Edward, look at the other side of the coin. Look at the other side of the coin, and this references back to my spiel on culture, in that you don't a specific demographic of women doesn't have to worry about going to certain spaces and consistently hearing, when are you going to get married, when are you going to find yourself a husband. Like in some of these other communities.
Oh yeah, shame was the first thing. The first thing that before even the laws are passed that women set to do is to overthrow and eliminate. And this is the biggest crime that black men fucked up on in the older generations. The biggest crime. They should have fucking cut their heads off of them bitches that tried to go after the women that did have a propensity to shame other black women, because that was the first, and I think that was the Achilles heel. Because see, traditionally the black community has never been a patriarchy, but traditionally black men have had access to using shame via the women, leveraging the women to shame. And other groups do this too. It's just black men depended on it a hell of a lot more, because black men don't have a propensity to go. See, other groups of men, if they got to reset their women, they will do it. They just prefer not to do that because, you want people to want to agree with your program, not that you got to keep on forcing them into it. Religion and shame is a way of doing that, buying them into it. And women were traditionally the ones that administered other women to stay in the pipeline. And then when they got out of pocket, that's when the men got involved. And the men were able to leverage their environment in order to do that too. The first thing that the women knocked out, the feminists knocked out, and this is why you hear terms pick-me's and shit like that, is they knocked out a lot of the women that did have a propensity to shame. This is why those women are so quiet now and they don't talk. Because think about it, the hatred that black women put on other black women and shame black women is much more visceral, much more absolute, and much more immediate than it is that they put to black men, because they're used to black men mumbling and grumbling. But when women do it, it gives a certain types of credibility to her fuckery. So women collectively address that very quickly. And that's how you know that a lot more women buy into it. So when people say some but not all, that's bullshit, because you don't hear those women actually fight back against that. Like even the women that are more in the middle. So when it comes to what you're talking about, other cultures, that's one of the first things that black women eliminated in black women. This is why I don't let them put the government
let me say
out
this.
there. I say, fuck that. No, they did it. Anyway, yeah, I'm good.
Well, let me say this, and I'm finna jump off the panel, but appreciate being up here and respect to the other panel as well. I'm gonna say it like this. See, to love somebody, you gotta respect their choices at the end of the day. Now, on my channel, my main focus is telling black people the truth. I don't really care about it, because truth doesn't need you to care for it to be the truth. So I just tell you what it is. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of women who are going to grow older, and they are going to die alone because their kids don't really mess with them like that. You know what I'm saying? If you start going to these older people who really have not raised their children well, they remember this when their parents get old, and they don't help them the way they could help them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you that real talk. They don't help them the way they could help them. So a lot of these older folks are really suffering because of how they treated their children growing up. And even though, yes, it's true, they do try to guilt their boys into a lot of things. And I literally just did this on one of my channels yesterday. I was basically telling young men that you are not your mother's boyfriend. So you don't owe them certain things that they try to make them feel like they should. But I look at it like this. If there's a Bible story about the children of Israel leaving Egypt, right? It was an 11-day trip by foot, but they ended up wandering in the desert for 40 years. What happened was the children either got released from slavery, and they start complaining to a certain point that God said, I'm not going to even let y'all get to the promised land. I'll let your children go instead. So I'm going to let y'all wander in the desert for 40 years. Now, this was an 11-day trip. So you just got out of slavery, and before normal people would get another paycheck, because it takes 14 days for most folks to get a paycheck. And that little bit of time, they were so ungrateful about being released from slavery that God just let them die. You see what I'm saying? My thing is, when it comes to black women, they are so ungrateful about the things that black men do for them, and they show it in every kind of way. That, okay, cool. If y'all want to be obstinate and you want to be disrespectful, you want to tell everybody you don't need us, you don't want to respect our authority as men, you don't want to respect the achievements we do, you don't respect it when we give you money, you don't respect it when we help your kids when it's time to go back to school, you don't respect it when we show up to pay for your kids' proms, you don't respect it when we help y'all pay for weddings. All the stuff that black men do for black women, and we never get real credit for it. Okay, at the end of the day, some of them just gonna have to die and let other people learn from their death. I respect their right to fail. Everyone has a right to succeed, but you also got a right to fail. I just respect their right to fail, and that's what's gonna happen to a large part of them at the end of the day. It ain't got nothing to do with me. It just got something to do with their choices. They don't want better, you know. And that's just what it comes down to. And I think a lot of men having a hard time accepting the fact that there's a lot of black women who simply don't want better, because they're just not good people at the end of the day. They weren't trained to be good people. They bought into what white supremacy has told them, and they live it. They just bought into it. They're not really looking to do anything different. Now they could change, but they've been adults and they don't change. So that tells you that's just what they want at the end of the day. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey,
Thanks.
Bernard, thanks
I'll holler
for
at y'all later. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Black Uru, hold on one quick second. I do got to get to little big Nate, who I'm trying to get a show set up with. I think you emailed me, said you can't really do tomorrow. I was hoping for tomorrow, but we'll get it set up. But to this super chat says Mr. Miracle. Well, Mr. Miracle says, Bernard, can you let Edward elaborate on how feminist black women don't really die alone, but instead infect their children. You kind of already touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'll reiterate real quick because shout out to Black Huru and on the other guy with the eye avatar. I mean, at the end of the day, this is where I understand what Roger's saying, but nobody's saying that Black women don't have a right to fail. But what we're talking about is that they don't fail alone. They drag everything with them. This is where BGS talks about a fucked up womb can affect 3 generations of Black folks. And that was the mentality. That was the mentality I'm sure a lot of older Black folks or the other generations had. It would be say same thing about hip hop. And I'm not saying that to blame them. I'm saying that's why we can't do it now. Is when people say, oh, well, it'll burn out. No, it won't. And that's been demonstrated it won't. It's a whole ecosystem, like bringing women in, popping women out. So that's one thing. The other thing, too, is Black men don't really want to reset their women. And when I say reset their women, I'm not even necessarily talking about violence. What I'm talking about is Black men don't want to completely just eject their complete support. Meaning if you're a female that you operate in any way like this, I'm not fucking with you at all. I'm not giving you money. I'm not doing nothing. You're not getting the privileges of what a woman gets, that benefit of the doubt, that trust. I would even argue protection as well for random bitches that folks don't know. It's different between women and your family because obviously there's a different situation there. But again, that stuff is infected in the kids, and then the kids raise up and the shit happens again. So they don't fail alone. They're not isolated. And that's the part that he's missing, is that isolation piece. You have to isolate something before you codify it or cut it out. And that doesn't happen. So anyway, yeah. So we all know what it is.
Can I ask you a question on something you just said?
Yeah.
Ed, how do you isolate yourself from these women when they are so much, as Black men, so much a part of our lives in so many other areas? I mean, let's say you isolate yourself from Black women.
Well, I meant isolate them. I didn't mean isolate yourself. You isolate them by not, to a certain extent, when it comes to social dynamics, you can't 100% isolate, because obviously family dynamics, stuff like that. But what I'm saying is Black men have this need to want to prove to Black women that they're not like that. I can be the man that the other people don't want to be. So we not only don't when I say isolate, I mean removing any resources that we have, everything. We don't support them at all. Meaning the only thing we're doing.
And where do those resources in that attention, where do they go to instead?
Well, they get reinforced to you. Number one, they get reinforced back to you and you as a collective group.
But I'm talking about in terms of you having intimate, amorous relationships, because a part of what you're describing is not just financial or economic, but it's also social, and it's cultural, and it's romantic and reproductive as well. So that energy, that attention must go somewhere.
Well, yeah, and you start doing well. What do you? I mean, shit. SYSBM has it all. There's answers to that. Yeah.
Okay. Now going down that line. So again, there are cultural impacts to going SYSBM that go just beyond your direct relationship with that non-Black woman, because again, and I witness it or I observe it with my nephews, younger cousins, or whatever, and how their relationships and even marriages with non-Black women also greatly impact their relationships with their sisters, their mothers, their other female friend and kin. So and I've been having.
I'll jump in and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna keep it real. One of the things that's not said in the manosphere, because we're not talking to younger guys like that, but it's definitely something that would get brought up if the audience skew younger. Is you get the first person you got to break in your mind is your relationship with your mom.
Right.
To red pill. And the reason why, because if you can do that, I'm gonna keep it real with you. This is not gonna sound great, but it is what it is. Dudes are gonna have to start getting rid of family members, and they're gonna have to start being willing to do that. It like Joe is actually a perfect example to speak on this, because you might have been around Black Guru when we were on BGS's panel, and that came up when Joe was talking about, you know, he's 21, talk about his relationship with his mom and the dude that's in the house, and how he almost fought the dude who's in the house, or he did, and then the mom called his mom called the police on him. And then that conversation came up. I'm not saying that he needs to completely say never talk to your mom again, but when it comes to like the nigga that's in her house, then there needs to not be a conversation. Meaning it doesn't matter what he did, because at the end of the day, when he was putting his hands on you, you called the police on me. You chose who you chose. So as far as he's concerned, unless you know what to do with that, kick him out. And if you don't do that, I don't need to hear shit other than that. You know, shout out to Joe. He can speak to that better than I can. That's his situation. My point of saying that is more dudes have to, you see the struggle back and forth with that. And the reason why we say the mom first is because if you deal with the mom, you can deal with the sisters. Sisters ain't nothing once you deal with the mom, because this is why they always say your mama black and all that bullshit, because they do it through the mom. Now, everybody has to assess that relationship differently. You know, personally, my mom doesn't like women like that, so I have a different situation, you know, but you have to look at that honestly, or at least get somebody to help you do it if you're not capable of doing it, because I understand that your mom, I know how Black men are about their mom. It's hard to do that. So my point is, yeah, you're right. You're going to have to start breaking.
Well, I think.
Well, hold on. We gotta pump the brakes on that real quick. Yeah, been trying to get a little Big Nate in here for a minute.
Okay.
So go ahead, little Big Nate. You got the mic. You got the floor.
I appreciate that, Bernard. I appreciate you letting me on the show. Edward, I've listened to a lot of what you've had to say on streams, man. Appreciate it. The gentleman, Black Guru, asked, who do the resources and affection go to? They go to physically fit, feminine, cooperative, convivial, submissive women, regardless of their race. That's where they go to. Okay. If a woman, these are my 5 non-negotiables when I deal with women. You have to be physically fit, feminine, cooperative, convivial. All that means is a pleasure to be around, and submissive. Now, how many Black American women fit those 5 criteria? And I don't think any of those criteria could be deemed as unreasonable. I said nothing about having a snatched waist. I said nothing about having 36, 24, 36 dimensions. I said nothing about having hair down the back, hair that goes down all the way back to your behind. None of those are essential and non-negotiable, but being physically fit, feminine, cooperative, convivial, and submissive are, for me anyway. Now, marriage, and I didn't hear anybody say this, and you know, I'm kind of new to the area, but well, I've been here for a couple of years, and I'm taking in a lot of what the brothers say. It's nice to find a place where, you know, thinking Black men can congregate and discuss these issues with each other. Marriage is the cornerstone of civilization, period. Okay. I was married. I'm divorced. Okay. Got full custody of my 2 children back in 2004. Raised
Salute to you for that. Salute to you for that.
I appreciate that, bro. Raised them for 15 years with no help from their mother. Okay. 2 years ago, my daughter went to go live with her mother, who has largely turned her life around, and I salute her for that. But let's take an example. The people of Papua New Guinea, it's an area of Indonesia, and you've probably seen them on TV. It's a very primitive tribe of Black people, very little access to computers, to electricity. The men go out and hunt with spears and bows and arrows. They bring back what they've caught back to the village. The women clean and prepare the food and care for the children. Now, without any access to electricity and computers and smartphones, the Black community of Papua New Guinea runs much more successfully and coherent than the Black community of America. And with all our access to all this technology and you know, an entire world of information at your fingertips, just really literally carry it around with you in your pocket. these primitive people run a much more successful civilization than we do. Why is that? Because they have a social structure that they follow. Edward talks about this a lot. That social contract that for the last 40 years, Black women have ripped up and thrown in our faces. There are consequences for this, sir. Black women, in no uncertain terms, and anyone who doesn't believe me, I'll be happy to point to the hundreds of thousands of videos, articles, books, songs, plays that delineate this point. They've told us they don't need us, sir, Mr. Huru. They don't need us. Not only do they not need us, okay, they are better than us. They are smarter than us. They are strong. They are boss bitches and bad bitches. About 3 months ago, I was watching a panel of like 20-something Black women. And of course, you know, they're all extolling their brilliant, remarkable accomplishments in life. And this brother came on the panel and was like challenging them, saying, you know, this attitude you all have really, it doesn't really appeal to men. And one of she's about 27 years old. She said, I am a boss bitch. I am a CEO bitch. This is how our women talk. And, you know, I'll be happy to come back and discuss the root causes of this lunacy and who has polluted the minds of Black women. But dealing with where we are and what's going on today, your best bet as a thinking, competent, productive, family-oriented Black man that believes in the Black nuclear family is, if you insist on a Black woman, you might want to consider heading overseas. Or there are communities of Ethiopian women, in Atlanta, Somali women in Minnesota, foreign Black women. What's that?
Well, I said, well, shit, Latin America. Shit. Black people really underestimate how many Black people are in South and Central America.
Absolutely. Colombia, Ecuador. There's Black people all over the world. There are Black women out there for Black men who want a Black family. I have a sister that has 2 white baby daddies. Okay. And on occasion, I'll go over her house, and this poor white man, he sits there. He's looking at the television, but he's looking through the television. Because he lives in a house full of women. I know how my sister is. He has 3 daughters with her. The other daughter is by her first white baby daddy.
Oh, damn, that nigga in hell. That white.
Whoa. And not only that, my sister is pushing about 260, 270 in the weight department. So I'll come over the house on occasion, you know, visit my nieces. And this poor white man is sitting on the couch just staring off into space. And, you know, my sister, unfortunately, represents largely what Black women have become. A bunch of obese, abusive, disrespectful, unappreciative, uncooperative women. And they not only have become this, and I am absolutely not talking about all Black women. It's over 50% though. And I'll debate anybody.
Over 75, but go ahead.
I won't say 75, Edward. I don't know if I could back that up with empirical data, but I think I can point to the fact that over 50% of Black women are now in that horrible category. Now, what's the solution? Okay, granted, you're not going to make these women do anything. They are plugged in to the federal government. That is who they're married to. Most Black women subscribe to and pledge their allegiance to Democrat and feminist ideology. Even the Black women that don't know they're feminists. If you've ever said that you're a bad bitch, you're a feminist. If you've ever said no man can tell me what to do and ain't no man gonna control me, you're a feminist. If you've ever uttered out of your mouth, my body, my choice, you are a feminist, man. And if you are a feminist, that's fine. You go ahead and be it. Just prepare for your future. Prepare for a future of obesity, loneliness, failure, abandonment. You won't even raise your children properly because, contrary to popular opinion, you do need a father in their lives. And the ideal situation is to have that man in the household with you, not only in the household with you, but leading your household. Bernard, do you mind if I plug another brother's platform, Xavier, the Prophet of Thought?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's my man. Brother Xavier.
I'm gonna be on Prophet of Thought, I think, next Thursday, talking about the protection of the Black woman. I hope all of you tune in. It's going to be incredibly interesting. I think you'll find my perspective something you've probably heard it from other brothers, just not quite the way that I'll put it. And
I can't wait to say that. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and handle this business right here on the air. We was talking about me getting you in for a one-on-one. I want to cut you off so you can save some of this heat for when we do it.
No. Bernard, I have years.
What'd you say?
I have heat for years.
Okay, cool.
Can I go back to something?
But wait, hold on, real quick. You said you can't come on tomorrow. Is that correct?
Well, sir, I could jump on just like I'm going to jump on now, but I would love to jump on tomorrow, and maybe we could talk about what we'll talk about Tuesday. I would love to come on. I sent you an email and have a discussion about why I'm voting for Donald Trump. I think
Mr. Bernard.
We'll save that for Tuesday. That for Tuesday.
Awesome. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So I'll mark that down. So that's what we'll do a one-on-one on Tuesday. Black Uru, you sound like you had a question. Go ahead and get that question.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something that you all were discussing earlier, the thing about marriage. Let me preface my commentary by saying that I've been married for nearly 30 years. I have two adult daughters that I love and care for, pay their way through college, all the good father stuff. And I'll say this, there is no way in hell I would recommend that a young Black man get married in the current legal environment, this current thought culture. And so when I see and hear Black men, and without mentioning names, divorced Black men, never married Black men, advocating and admonishing, advocating for marriage and admonishing Black men who wisely choose to avoid marriage, it really bothers me. And I think there needs to be some pushback in this environment against that type of thing. You know, there's this odd kind of do as I say and not that I do that is being pushed here that I think you guys need to be very careful about. Look, I've gone through all the ups and downs of marriage, raising children into adulthood. I don't regret any choices I made, and I've done well for myself economically, but I don't think that I would not have achieved economically had I never married and had children. And I don't think it's fair to promote that to young men of today who are a product of a very different legal environment, a very different economic environment, a very different technological environment than successful men my age and older who did not have to compete against the forces that you younger men have to compete against. You know, there's look, I've read the Millionaire Next Door and Think and Go Rich and all these, you know, fable tales of how men achieve wealth in these countries, but these are very old and dated stories. You know,
but Mr. Uru,
they don't include the internet.
We got to go to Joe Black Uru. He been waiting for a while. I see what you're saying. I see where you're going. I'll just briefly say on that, families matter, and we know the outcomes of kids that are born into marriages. And even if we take the legality of marriage off of it, let's just say mentally healthy, functioning people that know how to function in a relationship and work together with common goals and raise kids. If we can just narrow it down to that, we know the outcomes of those.
I stayed in a marriage. I appreciate the concept.
Whoa, what happened? Yeah, bump the brake.
I was saying if I could chime in after Joe. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. Okay, good. We know the outcomes of people who grow up like that. Even when you're Black and you grow up in those conditions, you grow up and you do better than the average white person who was born to a single mother. So it's we run into a conundrum when we're talking about single motherhood is a problem, but marriage is also a problem. So that's a hard one to square, and I don't know who has the answer sway on that one, but I can't just shit on marriage because
Oh, I'll
marriage.
jump in on that after
See,
everybody else.
Yeah, but we
Mr.
gotta
Mr.
go to Joe. We gotta go to Joe.
I'll just say
Oh,
I wasn't allowed to fully
I know.
illustrate
I got okay, my bad. My bad.
position.
We'll get back to you, but Joe been waiting there quietly for a while, so I'm gonna go to Joe, but we'll circle back to that because that's a good conversation.
Yeah, because I got an answer for all of what you just said. But yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
willing to wait.
Go ahead, Joe.
see, Mr. Bernard, this is the thing, and this is something I noticed with like a lot of older guys. Like when it comes to like young guys like me making certain decisions, like the older guys, they I guess you could say warn us, but they also discourage us from making certain decisions. Like for example, yeah, I know I live with my gear, it ain't no secret. Now you got dudes who say, oh, that's such simp stuff, that's beta and all this type of stuff. But this is the thing. I done vetted her, I sexually imprinted her and all this type of stuff. She do what I want her to do when I want her to do it. Now, you got a lot of dudes who will look down on it and say, oh, you don't know what she's doing behind her back because they got done wrong. I'm not saying it's not possible, it's very possible, but this is the thing. Instead of, because you got some of these dudes who like, and there's no disrespect to the red pill dudes or whatever, you got some of these dudes who so into that they X out any woman that even one that might listen to them. Now I know it's a slim to none chance that a woman gonna do that anyway, but it's like, man, look, some dudes have a problem even being around a girl. If you're around a girl and you just around her, you're a simp. Like that makes no sense to me. Like we kind of got this warped
Some
sense.
dudes go way too far. First one, real quick, I'm gonna throw it right back to you. But to what you said about living with a woman, Angry Man and Donovan Sharp are extremely red pill. We'd all agree on that, and they both live with women. So I mean, some dudes go too far with the shit, you know.
Yeah, and this something else I found. Cause I put together a PowerPoint too, Ms. Bernard. We had scheduled that when we could set that up, but I made one talking about all this different kind of stuff. Cause some I found interesting was y'all know Shahrazad Ali, right? She got books talking about how men and women we go against our biological imperative just because of how we feel how society would look at it. Like think about it like this: you got the women who constantly talk about black dudes, they don't like black dudes, or they hate what we do, and this that. Now, in their mind, they want to submit to us, but society and the way they behave, they can't. She talked about that in her book. She said the woman subconsciously wanted to submit, but the way she gonna be portrayed by society is gonna make her not want to do it. So it's just like a big ball of confusion. Now, back to what I was saying as far as marriage and stuff like that, in the climate we in now, if you an average dude, I mean, if you get divorced, you really have nothing to lose because it's like y'all make the same amount or similar amount. But if you were upper echelon dude, I mean, if you get married in the day and age we in now, it might come out bad for you because this is the thing. You might get tired of the girl, or the girl might get tired of you, or she might cheat on you. Any of those could be possibilities. We're not going to ignore those facts, but we also at the same time cannot just ignore that what's going on right now is destroying the black community. Like this was another thing I was going to talk about. I'm gonna keep it brief too because I know people want to come on, but okay, the single mother households, for example. Do y'all see how messed up some of these kids are? How disrespectful they are? How ratchet they are? All the type of stuff they do. Now we can say, oh, the mother shouldn't have did that, but it's like, okay, the dudes, for example, like this is another thing she talked about. She said a man's biological imperative is to get a woman pregnant who visually appeals to him. Now this is the thing. If you as a dude get a woman pregnant, you know you weren't supposed to. How you gonna be mad about the consequences? The consequences are your fault, and I know what you're gonna say. Oh, well, it's both. I blame both parties if they get pregnant and say, "Oh, it was an accident." That's both of y'all fault. But after it happened, you can't get mad because you was in that situation. This how I look at it. A man and a woman never equal. A man has higher value than a woman. Anything that a woman does to you or that you let do to her, you can either walk away or you could take it. The outcome is your decision. If you as a man with a woman who do you dirty or talk disrespectful to you, I would have to question where you stand as a man. Why are you dealing with somebody like that? Find somebody who treats you better, who do what you want them to do. Now, at the same time, you got society and feminism telling women they equal to a man, they do all this and all that. Every woman not gonna subscribe to that. It's a biological imperative in a woman to get a family and settle down. Now, like I said, it's a slim to none chance for that. But some women not gonna subscribe to feminism. You just gotta find them. Like you can't just. And then with the dudes overseas who say, "Oh, I'm gonna go overseas, do that." You can do that, but you don't know what's going on in those societies. If you have been over there and you do know, that's good for you. But you can't say, "Oh, if I go over there and bring her over here, that's the end of it." You don't know how that girl might change when she come over. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying that's lame of you to do that, but it's just like don't take the red pill so far you just hate all women. Like, because if you honestly sit here and say all women are bad, why you steady sleep on it? You know what I'm saying? That is just like I'm not taking up for nobody, but it's just like because this is the thing. I see what the black community is right now, bro. It's a joke. Like it's disrespect on both sides. I mean, there's reasons why, but it's just like when me and like I was talking to my girl about this yesterday. When we go places and we see just the looks on people's faces, like that we happy and don't have no issues and stuff like that, and doing good for ourselves. I'm just like, man, what are y'all so mad about? This come from the dudes and the women. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's at a point now where it's just like if somebody happy with somebody, it's an issue. Like it's just that gotta stop, man. And like the fact that we are like, okay, like Mr. Bernard, you for example, you got a girl and stuff like that. You happy? You don't have no issues. Donovan Sharp don't have no issues. I don't have no issues. Now we'll say that, but some dudes so worried what they thinking. Oh, she's doing something behind her back. That's
Bernard,
like you got to let go of that rage, bro.
Right.
Okay, Bernard, are you married?
No, I'm not married.
Is Donovan Sharp married?
No, he's not married.
Does he talk about marriage? Does he advocate for marriage?
I don't think he advocates for it. I don't know if he's against.
See, let's be specific about what's being said here. No one is arguing that men should not be with women. No one is arguing even that men should not commit to women. There are ways in which you could formulate your own modern version of a committed relationship. And many men do it. Maybe some of the men here do it. I'm not saying don't commit and make a family with a woman. I'm saying the current legal environment combined with the thought culture is not at all, does not make it sane for a man to formally and legally marry. Now, I understand the things that you all say with respect to single parenting and issues of fatherless children and whatever. But let's be honest, fewer than 30% of black men are married today anyway. Plus, the woman can easily and very quickly pull the plug on any marriage regarding what you do. And so you can very well have your children being raised by, quote, a single mother, even after you've married her, without that ever even being your choice. So let's be honest and complete about what's really going on here, and then help men to make decisions based on all the facts, not just this whole notion of that we should get married because we may be in the top 1 or 5% who may somehow achieve some great economic benefit from that. It's sort of selling men a pipe dream.
Well, first of all, let me say to Joe, I applaud you. How old are you, sir? I think I've heard you're 21.
21. Yeah, he's 21.
Salute on having the knowledge you do have at that age. How many of us, I'm 45. At 21, I was the most blue pill cuck you had ever met in your life.
Same here.
But who fault is that, bro?
Salute, Joe. Now, but I want to give you some advice, bro. Stop giving a fuck what people think. Who cares what niggas think about what you're doing? It's intelligent that you seek the advice of men that have traveled the road you're looking to travel down. But ultimately, I'm sorry, go ahead. What was that? Okay.
Oh no, I was just listening to you. That's all.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm new to this panel stuff. It's intelligent that you pursue the advice of men that have walked before you. That's very intelligent of you. However, you cannot live your life without mistakes. You're going to make some, and the intelligent man learns from them. The incredibly intelligent man learns from other people's mistakes, which what you may be attempting to do. However, I've heard you talk about your issues with this young lady you're considering having children with. Ultimately, you just have to make that decision, bruh. If you let too many men, regardless of whether their position is correct or not, get into your head, ultimately, as a man, you make your decision and you deal with what the repercussions of it are. Hopefully you make the right one. Okay. If this young lady hasn't had a lot of lovers in her life, if this young lady is on your program, she doesn't walk beside you, Joe. She walks behind you. You walk into the fray. You do. You take the oncoming shrapnel or whatever's headed. You deal with that. She follows your lead. If she does that, fine. The only thing I would suggest is you're too young to have children. 21's just too young, bro. If you love this girl, if she's on your program, she's doing what she's supposed to do. I know what brothers are going to say. Oh, you don't know if she's sucking cock when you're not around. Okay, great, fine. How do we know you're not sucking cock when you're not on this panel? Stop.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I heard Mr. El Bigante, like when some of these dudes talk, it's just like you could tell that they just hate being like, I understand the red pill and all that, but you could tell like, and like I did my dirt on the side. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, but you got some of these dudes, they so just red pill, I guess, warped. They just, it's gay to be around women. Like, bro, some of y'all dudes, like, I know y'all said don't pay attention to it in the comments, but it's just hearing these dudes, bro, it's just like,
Joe,
they got hurt before.
Joe, be careful about arguing extremes. You know, the world, how most people operate and think is usually somewhere in the middle. You know, yeah, I mean, look, some of what goes on in this environment and what goes on in other environments, there's an emphasis on the extreme. And so then we respond in kind. When the truth is, there are legitimate hazards and reasons to avoid legal marriage. And it's usually, let me finish. It's usually based on what the majority of us have seen, witnessed, and experienced. And some of it is because you're younger, and we view ourselves through you, and we recall all the havoc that we witnessed in that interim of time between the age you are and where we are in our lives. And many of us earnestly and truly do not want that or some of that to happen to you. It's not so much about, or it's not always about someone having some very extreme view of things. It's like, man, I went through all this. I went through child support. She took my house. You know, I mean, God, I don't want to know that has happened to other younger men. You know, so what I would recommend or implore you to do is to not respond in extreme to the extreme.
And Joe, Joe, you,
yes, sir.
You ultimately, this is your life, bro. You can listen to what brothers say in the manosphere, you know, chew the flesh and spit out the bones. Okay. Don't get caught up in other men's opinions. You're the only one that knows this young lady. You're the only one to know if she qualifies as a woman who deserves to be married. And ladies, there are qualifications. There are some serious non-negotiable qualifications for you to even get a relationship with the type of men that exist in this sphere here. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. Now, Joe, I will advise you that you are too young to have children. If she is a good girl, just continue down the path you're on. Explain to her, sweetheart, I have a plan for us. As long as you continue to exhibit the behaviors that make me feel that you're on my team, you'll follow my lead. You're gonna follow the direction I give you because it's the only way I can keep you safe. If you're that kind of woman, and be honest, don't lie to women. You know, there's different schools of thought when it comes to lying to women. The reason I don't lie to women is because I'm not going to give you a goddamn weapon to hit me over the head with. Period.
Exactly.
So
and Joe, always use a condom.
I got a question though too. I wanted to ask everybody this question because I'm trying. I do the same thing with people who say they feminists and all this shit. What is the end goal? I like anytime a girl say they're feminist, all that. Bro, I'm like, what's the end goal? They can't give me a response because it's nothing. It's not an end goal. Now let me ask this.
Joe,
there's an end goal for feminism. It's
I'm just saying, like, okay, so with the red pill thing, let's say every dude. Hold on, let me finish. Hold on. Let's say every dude become red pill 100% like that. Okay, if that happens, the population is going to eventually die out, right? Because nobody gonna get nobody knocked up.
No. What happens is because the two most dominant influences over all human females are power and fear. And once men begin to assume more of their own power, the fear of women will kick in and they will begin to relent in ways in which it makes them more manageable to deal with it.
But this is my question: Are you really taking power away when you got dudes trying to figure out? Oh, I shouldn't talk to a girl for 4 hours because she'll think I'm weak. Like, bro, that's you faking it, bro. You faking power. Like, that's lame. Like, come on. This is my thing. I'm not discrediting none of these red pill dudes.
That's a rather arcane example. I mean, I'm talking about much more.
Okay, what about the purpose thing? The purpose thing. Most of these dudes say they have a purpose, don't have a purpose, bro. They just say they have a purpose just because it sounds good.
Joe,
that's lame, bro.
But Joe,
why do you care, Joe? Those men have to figure their shit out.
Yeah. So I missed some shit. So where we at now? Because I'm seeing some. Yeah, what's going on? Because I thought we were circling back.
Let's circle back. Joe have a tendency to do that. To change the topic to whatever is on his mind.
My bad.
Joe is critiquing the manosphere and the red pill.
What'd you say?
Joe appears to be critiquing the manosphere.
Oh, I'm not critiquing it. I'm just saying.
And here's
my thing, and I'm gonna give this disclaimer. You know what? I should play that damn Morpheus shit on the Matrix. They said, I'm offering you nothing, only the truth. It's up to you. So all I'm going to tell you is whatever you do, don't fucking have kids. Don't fucking fuck up your credit. Because when you figure some of this stuff out on your own later on, then like in your mid or late 20s, because the fuckery in millennials is off the change as far as the females. So it's going to be very quick. Just don't put yourself in a position where you got to dig out. If you don't hear nothing from the fucking manosphere, hear that shit. Never put yourself when you kids. That is a financially transmitted fucking disease. I don't give a shit what anybody says, because if that woman and here's another thing why I wanted to circle back to the marriage thing. Because that's your lifestyle is going to be very much predicated on her cooperation, and that shit can change. Even having a baby changes a woman. So again, just don't have no kids. Just don't get cracked. I'm telling you, don't get married, because if you get married early, that's what
I ain't never get married.
Well, I'm saying that because niggas be having baby fever. That's something. That shit. I was almost gonna send that to you, Bernard. Niggas and baby fever, but see, that'd be disingenuous where I don't have kids. I want to get that's something that nobody's ever talked about is niggas with baby fever.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It is. It's a thing in the black community. It's a thing with black men. Oh, yes, it is.
I didn't think it was.
But Mr. Edward, they go back to that biological imperative.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. I didn't think it was. Hold on, but I didn't think it was baby fever. I thought what it really was is niggas who just like to hit it raw and didn't like to pull out.
No. That's not what I'm. That's actually not even what I'm talking about. Like,
I thought those dudes.
You see this in the South a lot. Niggas will get hyper angry at women. Not all the time. I'm not saying it's every dude, but if a woman has let's say you're dealing with a chick that's like from New York, and I'm not broad stroking, but whatever. Abortion for them ain't the same as what it is in the South. So a lot of dudes, if the dude likes the girl and she's like, we were just fucking, I'm not trying to have this kid, motherfuckers be wanting to put violence on that. They be getting angry.
I've never heard of that.
I've seen that more than a few times. That's something that's regional, but it happens. But dude, niggas be getting baby fever. Like it doesn't happen. It's enough to notice. It's not like an epidemic, but it's something that comes out that some of y'all might want to consider when y'all don't understand some of the friction y'all be getting with some of the stuff that we say.
And
That
do they
Mr.
hold on,
Bernard, that's
Ed, but
that biological.
you telling me that they get like this with women?
it is not a male biology. That's completely socialization. Men are not supposed to be biologically wired to want to have
To
children.
reproduce and spread they seed?
No.
That's science.
No, not to an extent where they have a biological imperative to fuck. They don't have a biological imperative
And release they seed, bro. What do you?
But hold on, but no, it's a different thing. Yes, when we get horny, that's our genes telling us that telling us to go propagate our DNA. But when we put condoms on, we're blocking it. So yes, we have we're hardwired through evolution to want to spread our seed, but we are rational thinking people in the 21st century, and we understand that.
And women can separate wanting to fuck versus wanting a baby. It's two different things.
I know, but I'm just saying that we are hardwired to want to reproduce. That
and Joe,
we are hardwired to that, but we do have to consciously.
Two different things.
Joe, let me.
I understand that in the rational thinking human in the 21st century. But if you break it down to just the bare bones of the science, that is what our genes are telling us to do. But we do have to consciously fight against that. Every time we put a condom on, we're fighting against that. Every time a woman get on birth control, she's fighting against it. We fight against it.
I have two daughters, and I would say almost immediately in the conception of both of those daughters, there was some pleading from their mother, luckily my wife, that we have them. You know, it was not in neither instance was it necessarily a priority of mine.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, there is a difference. Thank you for saying that, by the way, because there is a difference between wanting a baby and wanting to. Even in a woman, there's a difference between being in heat and wanting a baby. That's very important to understand.
Well,
there's a difference between
what I think Edward is referring to is the fact that, you know, as men, there isn't an inherent desire for sexual activity. With reference to what Bernard's saying, there's inherent a biological imperative to reproduce. But with men, there isn't that biological clock that women experience. So, you know, there isn't that sense of urgency to have kids right then and there. So a lot of times men are, you know, we have that desire to have sexual relationships with women, but not necessarily wanting that lifelong, you know, attachment to that woman, you know, that comes with having a kid. Even if you're not going to be with that woman, now you guys are bonded by that child, you know, for better or for worse. So I think that's what they're referring to. But on that note, I'm about to head out. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me, Bernard, Edward. Thank you for being patient with me. Shout out to everybody on the panel, Black Rural Strikes. Some other gentlemen.
Yeah, and
all right, thanks.
Yeah,
Peace, man.
And Mr. Bernard,
and that is but certain things like that, those are distinctions that need to be dived into, because it's a difference between a nigga nutting in a bitch with the intention of getting her pregnant and nigga nutting in the bench because it feels good. Two different things.
But I think look, here's the thing: there are moments when we are with the woman, and it's not just physical, or it's not just the desire to have sex and to ejaculate. But certainly that becomes mixed with your emotional tie to her. Yeah. And they know that instinctually. And it's at that moment, very often, when babies are made.
Women want children and babies. Men want lineage and legacy.
Okay. Exactly.
Yes, but I understand that, but it's not the same as it's dudes are not driven in that way like women are. Like they're not.
I don't know, Mr. Edward, because people have a lot of accidentals.
I agree with Edward. There's no way
for this is like what fucks a lot of black men up, by the way.
Bro, I swear, I ain't tripping. Are you gay?
Who?
You, the guy, Bernard, is your name Bernard?
Who you talking to?
What?
The guy with the glasses on.
No, he's talking
to Ed, him, yeah. Not you, Bernard. I mean, my fault. I mean, Ed. Are you gay?
Hold on. Before you answer, Edward. Hold on, everybody be quiet. Platinum, I want you to clearly lay out why are you asking Edward that question?
Well, he said, what brought me up, he said, is because
cut off your mother? Like women, I mean, like, are you serious? She said, some of these dudes, y'all need to cut off your mother. I said,
I need silence.
What the fuck does that have to do with being gay?
Whoa. Hold on. Time out. I need Platinum to lay this all the way out before we get a response from Edward. Okay, so
let me
next, please.
No. Hold on. No, just pump the brakes.
He said, he said, cut off your mother. I said, okay. Obviously, he don't like women. That's if you drifting all the way back to your mom, you seriously got some problems with women. Then he said that guys, it's not normal or natural for a man to want to have children, and they just fuck, and that's gay talk. When that's what they say.
Edward, can I handle this for you, Edward?
No. Well, I'm not talking to whoever. I'm talking to Edward.
No.
Little Big Nate, I know you want to get in. We got
hold up, no disrespect. I'm just saying that's how they talk. If you've ever know them,
you fucking
they say fuck. They say sex.
Bernard, your stream is about to be derailed, bro.
Like that. I know we're gonna have this.
All right, everybody mute up. Let's let Edward respond.
Okay, so let me be very clear about this. First of all, when it comes to, it's a difference between wanting to wanting to fuck and then wanting to finesse motherfuckers out of kids. This is why 53% of black men do not have children. Doesn't mean 53% of black men are gay, by the way. They don't have kids because of the penalties that often come along with them. And by the way, like Ramil says, motherfuckers having kids when they can't pay for them. So at the end of the day, when you say the gay shit, are you really talking about niggas are just so blind to their sexual desires that they're basically black men are like rabid fucking animals? Because this is what a lot of dudes be throwing at a lot of the thug nigga dudes. This is why they can have nothing, but at the end of the day got a whole bunch of bastard kids. My point to saying that is there is a difference between a woman wanting a child and wanting to fuck. Let's start there. Do you believe that there's a difference in a woman having baby fever and a woman wanting to have sex with a nigga?
I know some women who do. They do want to.
You know, some women. There is a difference between when women get a biological clock and they want a baby and them want to fuck. But go ahead.
Okay, I know women who want to have babies by particular dudes. But hold up, you talk about just fucking. Right?
No.
I know women. No, you said just fucking. She just want to fuck tonight. Hoes like that, like ratchet, real hoes like that, like, no, I don't really know hoes like that. Them crackhead bitches. Them just. So you're saying?
You're telling me that what percent? I'll ask you this way: what percentage of black women in general, whatever, of a woman's sexual interactions that they have an intention of having a baby with a dude when they have sex with them?
Consular Murray, thanks for the super chat. Hold on, real quick. Consular Murray, thanks for that super chat. Mr. Chain Vicious, thank you for that super chat too. He said, I never wanted kids and I tried to get a vasectomy at 22. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Y'all can keep those coming because I'm staying on way longer than what I intended on doing here. But
yeah. So, but this
let's go. Okay, go ahead. Whoever was talking, I think Platinum was talking.
No, about 85%. About 85% of bitches.
So you're saying 85% of women, of their sexual interactions, they have a psychological intention of becoming pregnant.
It's from the standpoint of the fucking with you by 85% is they wouldn't mind if they got pregnant by you.
Okay,
hold on, Bernard. Last question, and I'll let you jump in. Explain to me 15 million black abortions then.
Well, they don't. Maybe
2 million, sir.
Okay, wait a minute. Maybe they wanted to have it and the guy didn't want it, or they didn't want to have it alone. Wait a minute. I'm talking about the bitch go ahead and get pregnant, knowing that you ain't gonna claim the bitch you in another relationship, and then that result in that, or the bitch don't want to have a baby. Like on the back end, she'd be like, I don't want to have no baby with this dude. I thought I did and I don't.
All right.
Mr. Platinum, what everybody fell into acknowledge.
They all impregnated.
Wait a minute. This is where I got to go with this. Okay, Platinum. You came on. You initially you questioned Ed's sexuality because he said he doesn't want to get women pregnant when he has sex with them. You also have said previously that you have sex with a lot of women. So I have to ask the question: how many kids out of wedlock do you have?
Oh, I've been married before.
That's how many. I'm asking how many kids out of wedlock do you have? How many of these?
I've been married. I got kids in a marriage and I got kids outside of a marriage. I mean, like,
yeah, okay, yeah. How many outside of a marriage?
How many bastards you got running around?
Huh?
I mean, I'm not even. This ain't even about being.
Wait. This is an important question. Go ahead. Wait.
I have 3.
You have 3 outside of a marriage. Okay. So, but when you talk about the amount of women that you have sex with, but you've only gotten, I'm assuming, I mean, is all these kids by different women?
I mean, they're kids, man.
Okay. Here's the point.
You got him, Bernard. You got him cornered.
For the amount of
3, 4, 5.
For the amount of women that you've had sex with, you have not impregnated all of them. Clearly, you understand the concept of taking preventative measures when it comes to having sex with a woman and not getting her pregnant, because you clearly understand that it's a bad idea to impregnate every woman you have sex with.
Okay, it is, Bernard, and what y'all was telling to Joe.
So how is Ed gay?
Because I wasn't on there when Joe got on there.
Hold up. What y'all was saying to Joe, I disagree with that.
Well, I wasn't on there. So you do that.
The whole point of fucking, whether we like it or not, you know, it's really not for pleasure. I mean, you know, we do it for pleasure, but the whole point of fucking is to impregnate the person. That's why you bust the nut. You don't bust the nut just you weren't born with a condom. So, I mean, like some of the shit that comes out of the mouths of some of you niggas, it makes me wonder. Like,
first of all, okay. So first of all, the condoms. See, all this stuff you understand in the private chat. I wasn't even on the.
I got you.
I was on the panel, so that's that. But as far as what you're talking about, this is exactly what I was talking about. Other groups of men understand this shit, but a lot of black men don't. So it's interesting. I'm glad you said the shit with the gay shit, because that's a very visceral reaction to what's being said, and it actually highlights the thing. So let's dial this back. Let's dial this back to the mama shit. So the reason I'm number one, I'm not the first person to say that in the manosphere. The reason why it's not talked about because we know how motherfuckers react, but it's typical in red pill doctrine. You're not really red pill until you psychologically are able to separate your mother from being a god in your life to an actual person. You really don't arrive as an adult in general until you see your parents as people. You may still respect them, but at the end of the day, your mother is a woman. Your mother is not a goddess. And you may give her more credence than the average chick because obviously she raised you. But most black men, and the reason why I brought up Joe, because this is a conversation that was had on a panel, and Joe can disagree with anything. We were talking about the situation that Joe, I'm gonna explain this situation to you real quick. This is before everybody else got on. We were talking about a situation on another panel in which Joe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, was describing the situation about when he got his first red pill awareness, and this was when he had to move out at an early age, do what he had to do as a man, because there was a situation with his mother and the man that she was dealing with, which is her choice. That's fine. We all have it, right? And basically they got into an altercation, and Joe, being the young black male, see his mom, protector of women, had a instinctual reaction, which is to deal with the nigga that was dealing with his mom. Okay. Joe, is that incorrect? What I'm saying so far?
Okay.
No, sir, that's accurate.
Now what did his mom do? His mom basically took the side of the motherfucker that put his hands on her when he was going after her, when he saw, and I guess police got involved and it was aimed at him, and that's when he realized he had to move the fuck out. Now the reason why the mother
about that.
Yeah, okay. So the reason why the mother conversation came into place is because even after that, he was talking about having like dreams of harming this dude. And we're like, at the end of the day, is it really the situation of what the dude is? Because at the end of the day, that dude is only there because she wants him there. Or is it really a competition amongst affection amongst a son and a mother? And then the motherfucker, she's fucking. And so what we did, and the BJS and them were on there too, is we basically deconstructed that and said, you have to see your mom as a woman too. And at the end of the day, women are going to do what women do. And it is fucked up. And this is where a lot of dudes get messed up, even when they think it's red pill, is they put their mom in this certain box that like she can do no wrong. And this is the problem with most black men anyway. This is why black women always use the mama. So we say you need to disconnect. What we're saying is even the women in your family, if they're on that gynocratic fuck shit, you need to be willing to write them the fuck off. And because they will,
and you know what's ironic?
Hold on, because they will never really respect you until you demonstrate. Even Kevin talks about this a little bit. He doesn't go that far with it, but he talks about the gynocracy even in his family. So that's something that doesn't, it has nothing to do with bitches you fucking. So the gay shit shouldn't even play into it on that front. And that's actually what you brought up first. Then you double back to the other stuff.
Okay, and also you want to break yourself from your mother for two other reasons. One reason is if you can break yourself psychologically from your mother, it makes it much easier for you to deal with all other women.
Like this.
But that's what I mean.
Because you're a lot less likely to pedestalize certain behavior of women, particularly black women.
But
once you're free of your mother, then no other woman is going to have emotional and psychological leverage over you. You know, hell,
but this is the thing Mr. Platinum saying. This is the thing Mr. Platinum saying everybody misses.
I don't even do this for my mama. I'm damn sure not going to do this for you. The other reason
this is the thing.
The other reason, and I'll just give me a moment. The other reason you want to break yourself from your mother, because if you really want to understand your life, if you really want to understand why you are where you are, how you got there, and particularly the pitfalls that occurred all along the way, you'll understand and break yourself from their mother. Because what you'll realize is many, if not most, of the shit that you got into, your mother was somewhere along that critical path.
But this is the thing that Platinum saying that everybody missed. This is the thing Platinum saying that everybody missed. This go back to the so red pill, you just disregard everything. What he's saying, what he's saying about the mother thing, like, okay, with my mom, for example, when I got up out this situation, ironically, all the extra stuff stopped happening. I don't know why, I don't know how. I guess he didn't like me or whatever it was, but it stopped happening. But this is the thing. Even though all this shit happened, I learned to separate. Okay, that's what happened. And I don't have like, okay, you got some dudes who got a grudge against their mom, but they ain't spoke to their mom in years and stuff like that. I don't like what she did. I got over that shit. I had resentment for a long time, but I eventually got over it. I'm not just not talking to my mom at all. I talk to my mom like once or twice a week.
Nobody,
it ain't just like, oh,
nobody never suggested that though. Well, nobody never suggested that at all.
But when you say cut off though, like you gotta be, because this is the thing. Some dudes.
Hold on, let me say this, and then I promise I'll let you get in. I'll let you chime in. Give me like 30 seconds. When dudes go, okay, the way that it generally works is boys are raised, women, men, they're raised like certain age to, let's say 8, 9, 10, whatever, by the women. The women are always the first teachers. Then at some point, the boys get transferred to the men, and the men puts them through their rites of passage and ushers them into manhood. That is for a couple of reasons. Obviously, these boys getting more testosterone, they're harder control. That's part of it. But the other part of it is you are separating the boys from the women to cut off that umbilical cord in a thing that's also the rite of passage. You see this in other groups as well. It comes out in different ways to different success rates. In the black community, in the black community, that does not happen for the most part. So as a result, and this is what Black Huru is low-key saying too, that umbilical cord never is cut off. So for me to say that, it's going to give an instinctual reaction that's absent of any logic. So you'll perceive it as we're being red pill. A lot of what we're saying is patriarchy 101. You're perceiving that as being red pill. And the thing is, nobody ever, even in that conversation, we never told you to stop talking to your mom. We said you need to recontextualize the relationship with her so you are able to better handle that, which it seems like you did that on your own, which is fine.
Hold on.
But this is the thing.
You interpret that as saying you don't fuck with them at all. And I'm saying if it comes down to that, it might have to, but usually
No, you changed it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, I agree with that, Ed. You said reposition the relationship.
Let me chime in on this mother shit for a minute. Okay? Let's look. You brothers tend to think on a micro level. Let's look at the macro situation that we're in with single black motherhood. Who
keep getting them pregnant though?
Yeah, you voting for Trump, right? You voting for Trump. You campaigning.
Damn right I am. And if you ever want to debate, boy, I will mop the floor with you, Platinum. Shut your mouth.
How you campaigning?
Shut your fucking mouth, boy. Okay? You're in no intellectual position to debate me on Donald Trump. Any platform you want to go.
You all are derailing the discussion.
I just said
Hey,
can everybody just pause?
I will debate you on that issue.
I don't care about no Donald Trump. I'm just saying it sounds like you campaigning for him, bro. That's all I said.
No, I'm not campaigning for anybody.
You said I'm voting. Are you voting to campaign and shit?
The only people I'm campaigning for
in October or November. You vote November, right?
Well, you know, it's interesting how black men will have no issues throwing their dads under the fucking bus.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
And socialized to do so. But hold on. When it comes to mama's untouchable. And then don't understand why the fuck they in a gynocracy.
Well, let me finish.
When it comes to dudes are raised by their mama, but that doesn't mean shit. I'm just gonna say it just like that. No, the reality of the situation is you got niggas that will basically die. They will go through from the womb to the tomb on some gynocracy shit just because their mama raised them. Shit, there's motherfuckers they dad raised them and they don't get that type of deference. Black
and that's the problem.
Unconditional love and from black men, and as a result, this is that desire shit. And by the way, even if I give you the mama shit, Platinum, there's a reason why black women always reference they mama. You know, how many niggas have said, bitch, you ain't my mama. So why the fuck would you say that?
When I finish my
I would say this, hold on. Hold on. There's a lot of hold on. Let me say this and I'll let you finish. Even if I give you the mama shit, there's a lot of black men that see black women through the eyes of their mama. You only got one fucking mama, maybe a grandmama. So yes, if you give her that deference, fine. But that's not really where the issue becomes. And that's not why I'm saying what I'm saying. The issue becomes is black men see black women through the eyes of their mama. And you only got one. So you have to basically break that connection in order to not be going through shit with other women. That's really what it is. Now, if you can separate that, then all right, you good. But what I find is most dudes can't. That's the macro shit we're talking about.
All right, now,
and I want to go back to what Mr. Edwards.
I is waiting. So it's I's thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If I can finish my statement, please. Okay. You gentlemen, most of you are looking at things on a micro level. You take your personal experiences with your mothers and you try to extrapolate it out to Black America. There is a litany of empirical data that would suggest single Black mothers are the absolute worst stewards of children. So
we agreeing with you.
For any goofy nigga who's putting on his red underwear and cape and coming onto this platform to defend single Black motherhood, you should shut your mouth. You are in no position to debate me on the quality of single Black mothers. I am a single Black father who took full custody of his children and raised them after his divorce since they were 2 or 5. I often have conversations with my son about what would you have become if you were raised by your mother? Okay? Stop pedestalizing and idolizing single Black motherhood, unless you would like for me to call you Fantasia. You know,
he's right though. He's right.
Have a whole string of
all my baby mamas.
Hold up,
okay? Let me finish.
You want to finish,
please? Let me finish.
More?
Let me finish.
What you're saying is real shit. So you act like what he's saying is straight bullshit. It's not.
That's the problem. You can't handle intellectually somebody that actually knows the truth. Now, sit at my feet and listen. Okay? That's what you need to do. You need to sit at my feet and listen. That's what you need to do.
I wouldn't sit nowhere near you, bro.
Now, let me finish. Not all Black single mothers are terrible. There is a group of them that are working diligently to raise their children properly. However, you cannot properly raise a child without the influence of a masculine man. It is the yin yang of male and female. You need a father in that household. You need structure, guidance, discipline. Those are the strong suits of a man. Number one. Number 2, let me give you my personal story, okay? I don't talk to my mother. And let me tell you why.
Let me go to the liquor store, bro.
Let me tell you why, sir.
Why how long your story gonna be?
My
bro?
mother 2 years ago came to live with me after a knee surgery.
I'm a Mac, bro. I'm a Mac.
For 5 months,
bro.
I
I'm a Mac.
took care of her.
I put holes in my pocket. Okay? I don't mind.
I took her to her doctor's appointments.
I put bitches in my pocket, bro.
You're not going to
put bitches in my pocket. I do not whine about them.
Let me finish my point and then say what you want.
I thought you was finished 5 minutes ago.
No, sir, I'm still talking. I'm not finished. Now, I took my mother in for almost 5 months. I took care of her. I took her to her doctor's appointments. I fed her. I helped her up the stairs to my bedroom so she could take her showers. Okay? Only to have her a couple of years later to call me out of the blue at the prompting of one of my sisters who had just spent 2 weeks visiting her, who doesn't like me and my political beliefs and the positions I take. And my mother came out of her mouth with something so disrespectful, something so dismissive of my feeling. And if anyone knows my history, especially with my father, my mother knows. Okay? My father would beat me mercilessly. He'd climb on top of me the way dudes in the UFC do and beat me. Okay? And my mother, at the prompting of my sister, said something where she was comparing me to my father, which is an absolute no-no. So now, since she decided to show me that level of disrespect, I don't talk to my mother, okay? I have no intentions of talking to my mother. Who gives a shit whether or not this woman is your mother? You measure her by the same standards you measure any woman. Is she cooperative? Is she submissive? Is she respectful? Does she submit and acquiesce to your leadership? Those are the non-negotiable criteria you measure women by, whether it's your mother or any other goddamn woman.
You're right.
Don't have any fear to cut your mother off if she is an disrespectful, abusive, nasty woman. To hell with her. And when she decides to come around and act like a feminine woman, then you can go ahead and try to reestablish your relationship with her. Okay.
And that's the problem too, Mr. Bagante. Like even with us on the panel, like the number one issue in the black community is the disrespect of the black man. Like, okay, we all sitting, we giving our opinions, but we can't just all just accept how each other think. We got to make it an issue of how we all think or how we got a certain opinion about something. And that goes to how society see us as well. Like even what you was talking about the single mother thing. It need to get to a point where we can all just express our opinions without backlash because somebody else got a different opinion. We just got to be able to talk and just express ourselves without the goddamn, you know what I'm saying?
We got to learn how to get to the point too, man.
Yeah, and communicate. Yeah, like.
And you have to learn how not.
Here's the point. No one has said single black women. Nobody's put them out there as to be worshipped or who said that it was okay for black women to have kids by themselves.
You came on the panel and insulted Edward Anderson by suggesting he's a homosexual.
Well, I wasn't trying to insult him. I was just trying to point clarity for myself.
If that was me, nigga,
I wasn't trying to insult.
Look, but this is what I'm saying. Can we be civil about this, man? Y'all got to be civil, bro.
I know, man. For
civil.
Real.
This nigga accused him of being a homosexual.
And you more fucked up about it than he is.
Look. He said it to Edward. Edward addressed it, bro. That's the end of it. It's all look. Ain't no beef.
Would you like for me to apologize to him?
I absolutely apologize to Edward.
Well, if Edward wanted that, I will. I'm not gonna do it because of you. Where are you?
I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina, nigga. I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina, nigga.
Listen, bro. Look. See, this is what I'm saying. Look, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Young men like me. This is who we got for example, bro. Y'all got to stop that, man. Just talk, bro.
Joe. Let me explain something to you, Joe. Don't you ever in your life?
Why are you screaming?
No, don't.
Exactly. Calm down, bro. Calm down. It ain't that serious. Calm down.
No, don't you ever in your life?
Don't threaten anybody, bro.
Step to a man and suggest he's a homosexual because you disagree with him.
You ain't hear me say that. I ain't say that.
No, I'm trying to advise you on what not to
I wouldn't do that no way. I respect everybody on this panel, bro. I ain't
disrespected him.
And Edward addressed it. That's the end of it. Edward said something.
Are you finished whining so we can have a conversation? Well, go change your
Platinum, I'm finished.
Listen, bro. Listen, look. The conversation can't continue until we all act civil, bro. That's the end of it. He said something. Edward said something. That's the end of it. Let that be the end of it. He a grown ass man. He don't need nobody come to the rescue. Let that be the end of it, man.
And let's be honest. We come from an environment of the dozens and all that type of thing. I mean, we're accustomed to using certain types of language to kind of draw attention to what the point we're trying to make, and I think that's what Platinum did.
They're calling me everything in the book in this chat right here. I mean, they're going at it on me, but I don't take this shit personal like that. I get called all kinds of names up here.
Okay, I tell you what, gentlemen, I'm back on my civil shit. Okay, if you want,
we good then. That's it. We good.
If you want,
let's continue the conversation.
Do not disrespect people. Plain and simple.
And I'm assuming he know that, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave because let me just say this real quick. Look, I'm more of a Mac. Like I handle bitches. I fuck with bitches, and they really. I done been some bad things, but not understand the system. I agree, and I don't like feminism. I agree with you guys. That's where I sort of join you guys fight with the feminism and the way the system is fucked up, totally unfair against the man. Where I don't ride with the guys when you guys start talking about don't fuck with these bitches, don't fuck on them, don't fuck the shit out of them, right? And then go overseas to fuck other. I've been overseas. It's like, are you fucking shitting me? So hey, it's a whole lot of bad apples out there. I agree, it's a whole lot of bad apples in the barrel. But I'm gonna fuck on me a nice thick, red bone all the time. So hey, for better for worse. So that's what
I think Platinum. With respect to your opinion, I think we spend, and not just here, black men collectively spend far too much time focusing on what each other are doing with their penises. I think whether you're fucking here, across the street, across the state, across the country, across the world, that should be a low priority item for black men as a whole. As long as you're being safe, as long as you're not committing yourself, putting yourself in some very bad legal and economic situations, let brothers do whatever they want to do, so they can get that energy out of their system, so they can focus on more important things in their life. That's what
exactly.
Tell me this. When y'all go overseas.
Let me say this.
Okay.
Let me step down. Okay. Let me step down, and you gentlemen can have the panel. Bernard, I'll be in touch, man. I appreciate it. And let me step back. All right. And y'all gentlemen do your thing. God bless.
See, man, that's the issue right there. I was talking about.
I'm not doing it out of anger. There's some things I have to do. I told Bernard.
I mean, if you have
I'm not talking about that, Mr. Elbagante. I'm talking about the lack of respect we have for each other's opinion, bro. That's all. We got to stop this shit.
Damn. I saw heard a little bit Nate saying he had to jump off. I had to step away for a while. I knew it got a little loud. I couldn't really hear it. I knew it got a little intense. Hopefully it didn't get too crazy. But I had to step away to set up some things because I got another business I gotta get to. So I gotta get up off of here. And I would like to thank everybody who came through. Little Big Nate always bring the heat. Platinum came through with some crazy shit as usual.
Hey, but no, he has to ask for one, Bernard. He has to ask for one because he's a man. But no disrespect to you, brother. I don't know who you are, but whoever you are, on the panel, I don't know your personal life. I mean, no, I didn't mean no disrespect. It was actually a question.
No, you talking to me. I'm not even. I just now got back.
Hold on. But I apologize to you. Just for the chat, I apologize to this man. I'm gonna say that I disrespected him. I was wrong. I apologize to you, bro. So,
all right, I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm trying to but here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say I appreciate you verbalizing that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I know a lot of dudes got went off on that, and I but a lot of dudes will think that. They may not say it, but they'll think it. So, and a lot more dudes will think it than necessarily will say. And I'm not talking about because they're not men or whatever, but it's important to understand this is in the lexicon. This is why these conversations don't get had, because dudes will be afraid of being, oh, are you gay? It's no. Like, dude, look, man, let me put my shit out there. My mom has 3 kids with all of us are half brothers or whatever, 3 different dads, all of that. All of my mom are deaf. But at the same time, I've learned to look at my mom as an adult and accept her flaws for what they are, and then not look at her like a goddess. You got a lot of dudes that they can't see their mom outside of that, like at all. They can't even imagine that concept. It blinds them to the point where they start looking at other bitches through they mama. And I'm like, these other chicks ain't talking about. This is why a lot of these dudes be doing a lot of what you might call goofy ass shit because of that. And that's something that's a lot bigger than what black men are really willing to say. Also, shout out to Father's Day. I think Father's Day was celebrated, I think, a little bit more openly, even with the women than what normally is. I'll even give the women credit for that. People see that. So I'm not going. But my point, this is not about beating up the women. This whole video show today was really not about beating up the women. It's about really saying, why do dudes look at shit the way they look at shit? Why do they accept certain fuckery in a certain way and not in other ways? Why do they, and how they buy into it psychologically? So the video really was about black men and their relationship to wanting to be desired. And a lot of that does start with their moms. It really does. Black men can have mommy issues just like black women have daddy issues, or women have daddy issues. And again, women play on that shit. And so to the extent the niggas aren't laced with the game properly or whatever, or the shit is overt, this is something that needs to be looked at. And that's all it is. I'm not telling motherfuckers to take their mom and sacrifice her to some kind of red pill god, or don't protect your mom if something's happening. But Joe, I do stand by what I said, that if
now Mr. L, we're gonna keep disagreeing on it.
Well, if your mama called the police on you, then at that point, anything
I
regarding that
I ain't gonna fake it. I won't fuck with it.
Well, I'm not. I'm not saying that I fuck with. Hold on. I'm not saying that I fuck with your mom. This is important. I'm not saying that I fuck with your mom. I'm saying on that topic, she know the answers kick his ass out. and if she wants to talk to you about anything other than that and regarding to him, that's a conversation. I'll say, look, you know what to do. If you still want him around, and you still want him around. If you don't, you don't. Because I already tried, that's all I'm saying. Not saying throw your mom out, but you need to basically draw a line by saying you want that nigga there, so you gonna have to get rid of that nigga, or tell us to come do it. But you're not gonna play this back and forth game where you want to take his side. That's all I was saying. That's why I said.
Now, can I make my closing statement so Ms. Bernard get up out of it?
Oh yes, we doing
man. I was really trying to let Ed have a final word, man. All right, you got 30 seconds, Joe. You got 30 seconds.
Okay. Man. All I'm gonna say is we gotta stop. Well, not we, because it ain't me, but dudes gotta stop getting so emotional when other dudes get their opinion, and dudes need to respect other dudes' opinions regardless of what they do. And that's it. And for the dudes saying I instigated, get y'all lame ass out of here. I ain't instigating nothing. It was funny, so I laughed. I'm the one who got it squished, so get y'all, bro. That's all I got to say.
Fair, though. I brought up this shit. I brought up Joe's name for him even to pop up on here, so that is what it is. But this shit was getting boring anyway, so it's glad it kind of ended on some live shit. And I think that's no, seriously, I think that's a teachable moment, because see, a lot of dudes will think shit like that, but they won't say it. So there was an actual purpose of him verbalizing it. I'm not just saying that just to be agreeable. And I appreciate I for saying what he said, because I'm waiting for the nigga to do the show. Are black women single mothers? I don't recommend black women bad mothers, but I don't recommend you do that, Bernard, because that's some shit that'll get you demonetized and lose your super chat.
Exactly.
That's why nobody does it. So anyway, appreciate it.
And Al Boogie a lame, and Samoa Nako, you a lame, and that's all I gotta say, bro.
All right, let's chill. I like to thank
I gotta go back to the chat.
Hit that like button. Thank you. Somebody came through with a super chat at the buzzard. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's wild. Platinum do serve a purpose, because given the way the community look and the way a lot of these dudes moving, it do got to be some dudes out there who think that the purpose of sex is to impregnate a woman. The way shit look, it's some out there like that. So,
but there's degrees to it. They may not think it like he's saying, but there is degrees to what he's talking about. There's degrees. So the question is, how much of a degree do you wind up on? Because you got niggas that got what, between 3 women, or 3 dudes, they got like 72 kids.
Yeah, like those guys clearly have a platinum mindset. It's one dude who be hell, he be on panels on the other side. I think he got like 13 women pregnant. So you know, it's dudes out there operating like that. But yeah, but anyway, that shit was wild. But all right, we out of here, fellas. Peace.
All right, Mr. Bernard.
Yep.